All right, in studio we have Dan Vanden Heuvel, a man of many nicknames, a man of many roles that plays a part in the storybook of off-road. While I was getting stories about you, somebody said it best, and it was Dalton. He said, the best stories about Dan are the stories that he tells, like when you're telling your stories and getting everybody going.
Well, he spends a lot of time with me when we drive to Tennessee and back. So, when you're driving for 12 hours, I got a captive audience there.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get to hear some of those greatest hits as well. So how we typically start is we have an engine warm-up section, and that's an opportunity that we let you take and tell us a brief overview about how you got into racing and how things progressed. And then hopefully as we dig into our questions, we'll even unveil more information.
All right, so it's go time for me, huh?
It's all you. You take the steering wheel.
Well, it's boy, that's a long time ago. When I was working at a mom and pop mattress factory, my cousins worked with me and said one day, "Hey, you want to go to Crandon?" Sure. Never been there. We got on our motorbikes. I think I was 15. Of course, we, drive to Crandon and go watch the Crandon brush run through the woods, the 101 race back in the day, and I went, holy crap, I have to do this. So following year, bought a awesome 68 Plymouth Fury 3 four-door, chopped it up, made it into, back then, what was, say, a Class 13 is, when we raced my first year, there were two classes that they raced. One was front engine, and the other one was rear engine. So we were thrown in with all Jack Flannery and his four-wheel drive, and Muscles and Hools and Joey Flannery and all these guys that have been racing it. And hey, we had a sweet a sweet ride, and everything we did was fresh out of the junkyard, and bolted it on and made our own car and went and raced. On my first year, we came in second place. Back then you raced 4 hours or 10 laps, whichever came first.
Wow.
And in 4 hours, I did 9 laps. The only other person to finish with me was, I think it was Joe Hools, and he did 10 laps. So he did all 10 laps in 3 hours. So he was way up on me, but I was the only other person to finish.
Yeah.
So that's quite an accomplishment. And my paycheck was 10 times what I had in the car.
Wow.
So I'm like, all right, now I know this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. I'm going to make a lot of money doing this.
So the rule book was a little bit loose back then, or?
As far as I know, there wasn't a rule book. I never knew. We just built a car, went and towed it with a chain behind a Blazer, 100 miles up there, just flat towed it on the ground. And when I got there, of course it was raining, so halfway we had to stop so I could put my helmet on, so I had to have a face shield to see, because back then we didn't run like these guys now with screens in front of you and stuff. It was just wide open, take everything in the face. And so we towed it up there, and Terry Friday goes, "Hey, you think that's going to work? You towed that automatic all the way here and it wasn't running." I go, "Why would I have it running? I'm not wasting the fuel." He's like, "I'm pretty sure your tranny's junk." Well, I finished the race. He didn't, so I guess it wasn't.
That's awesome.
So it made good circulation of that fluid then.
Yeah, must have. I have no idea. We never checked the fluid. I bought the car and, we raced it.
Yeah. Awesome. Should we dive into sight lap then?
Yeah.
You want to take the first one?
Yeah, so for sight lap, so what's your favorite track of all time that you raced on?
Oh my gosh, every single track is my favorite track because every single track is different. Man, Crandon's awesome, especially back in the day when I raced, before they had blue walls and rollers to pack it. It used to be a real racetrack. Bark River, such a sweet track. The elevation there, going over the hills, and you used to watch the tree lines off in the distance to know where you're going to come down, to know what lines to take. To go to all of them, but I don't know. The couple times we raced in Chula Vista and Pomona, that was pretty awesome. Jim Baldwin, he knew how to pay guys to build tracks. I know it totally wasn't worth it, but man, he built some crazy tracks, and those were really fun to race and really fun to win on.
That's awesome. So in the 2025 season, as like a spectator and being involved in the industry, what track are you looking forward to most, or we might have went to it already?
Yeah, I think every single track we go to, because they're different, I like them all equal. I really wish I could have raced ERX, because that's one of the tracks this year. I want to say went back to more of a looser track. It's not all rolled. It's not all packed. Or they tried to do it, but it tore up faster. And I wish they'd go back to the old days and maybe prep it twice a day. Watch the race before you, and then you'll know where the holes are and the ruts are. And, it's called off-road racing. Make it more off-road. I don't know of a track where they have moguls anymore. They just don't have it as rough. But, and then like Crandon's, the high speeds there, that tears up trucks in itself. So I'm not saying every track should, but boy, I wish we had a real true off-road track where it was perfect for the little guys and the light buggies. And then as the day progressed and it got to Pro 4, hell, look out. You're going to have a real track. And there might be a 3-foot hole. Kevin Dawson, back in the Lake Geneva days, he never prepped the track once. He might have to water now and then, but their equipment never went out there. You started the race with the smaller classes, you finished with Pro 4, and boy, if there was a rut developing come Super Buggy, crap, by Pro 2 or Pro 4, it wasn't a rut anymore. It was a 3-foot deep hole.
Yeah, that's crazy. That would be very unique if they did that today.
Yep. I'm sure they'd have a bunch of drivers whining, but grow a pair, hold on, and go race.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I agree with you. I think that would add another element that we don't get today. And like as a driver, that would add an element of your skill too, where they have to know where the holes are developing and know how to get around them. And I think the true drivers will really stick out in that type of environment.
Yeah, that's where we always tend to shine more. We didn't have the big dollars that a lot of teams did. So we were able to read a track and go race it and do well. Where now, start of every race, the track's a clone to the race before, to hours before. And not saying that's all bad, but boy, I wish they were rougher.
So when you speak of moguls, you're talking like offset lumps, bumps.
Yep.
That will
where you
upset
take like a payloader full of dirt, dump it in a pile, and then take the rubber tires and just roll over it, pack it down, and put 20 of them in a straightaway, maybe 100 yards long. And when you go through them, yeah, sometimes you don't know where your truck's going to go. And if you go through side by side, yeah, you might bang the guy next to you. That's the way it is. It's off-road.
So which one was the toughest to drive? Oh, we already did. No, we didn't do the toughest to drive yet?
No, I'm just trying to think if there was one.
Probably the one that didn't get any prep.
Not really. To me, those were the fun ones, the easier ones to drive, because it didn't just take the guy with the biggest checkbook to have the biggest motor. You had to work on your suspension, and we did all that back in the day ourselves. And yeah, I don't think there was one that was like that. I mean, they all were unique, from Black Hawk Farms to Elkhart Lake, to all of them. They were all different in their own respects, and I had a blast racing anywhere.
Yeah.
And you kind of said that you worked on everything yourself. Do you think, like, in today's racing, the drivers getting, their hands on the, like, maintenance of trucks, things like that, help them become a better driver? Or do you think that isn't as necessary?
It's hard to say. Everybody has their own situation. There's a lot of really good drivers that work on the trucks themselves, and then there's some really good drivers that hope to God they don't work on it, because they're not the suspension guy, they're not the mechanical guy, but they can wheel it. And if they have the checkbook to afford to pay the guys to do it proper, all the more power to them.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's important to have an all-around sense of the vehicle. Whether it takes an army to get that vehicle up and going, but to have an all-around sense probably helps out a ton. What class do you usually travel up to the grandstands to always watch?
My wife and I, we try to make it every weekend up for short course kart, and then that evolved into mod karts. And from having a hand in the development of that class and, building the first one, we shut down our shop for 6 months to develop that class. And it was sort of a struggle bringing a kart class to the tracks and saying, hey, this is what we want. 6, 7 years old to 10, 12-year-olds, and they're like, man, we got enough going on. And I'm like, you don't get it, man. The future of off-road racing, we need these kids. We need them involved. We need to get them hooked young. And then the tracks, what I guess they grown to understand now is when you have, a 7-year-old kid racing, well, now his brothers and sisters are there. His mom and dad, both sets of grandparents, or nowadays 4 sets of grandparents. Aunts and uncles. I mean, one little cart will bring at least a dozen people in the door. So it really helps the tracks financially. Yeah. And to watch these kids grow from these carts, then the mod cart, and then they spread out from, a buggy class or pro spec, or a bunch of them now are in pro lights and pro twos. If those classes weren't there, who knows where they'd be, out getting in trouble. I always loved it when I was raising my boys in racing. It was so easy. They couldn't get in trouble because they're always broke racing. So you never had the money to do all the rest of the foolishness.
Yeah, that's true. And they're too busy fixing it and getting ready for the next race that they couldn't go out and cause trouble.
Yep, living in the shop.
Yep.
For sure. So, speaking of those short course carts, I guess what was the motivation and drive behind developing them?
Well, one, seeing a need for it, and another one, my grandson Carter was getting close to the age of racing, and to watch him wheel my golf cart around the yard, and sure, he's plowed into a tree or two, but back then you're going, if we could build a miniature truck. And of course, back then we tried anything and everything. And with a lot of friends, Jake Vandervoort was over a lot with us, and a bunch of other people involved helping us. And we went, we got to build a vehicle for under $6,000. And after 6 months of our shop being shut down, I went, man, it's impossible. But we ended up selling the first half a dozen for, I believe it was $6,300, and it's got that 5-horse Briggs & Stratton motor. And back then we had a handful of sponsors helping out, and before you knew it, we have a half a dozen of them racing. The first bunch of races, I brought I brought my buddy Mike's skid steer to the tracks, and my older son Dan would drive it and build a track. And Crandon was great. We talked to Clifford and said, hey, we want to build our own track inside of your track. And he's like, cool, that way I can keep maintaining the big track. And we went inside and put some jumps and put some moguls. And the first couple years, unbelievable. And then it just took off. And every year it grows more and more and more. And I'm not sure. It's got to be over 30 cars now, whether they're all race every race or not. But
there's a significant amount of cars out there.
Yeah, they're out there. And so my wife and I go up to the stands and try watch them every single time. And it's priceless to see these little kids come out of the cars and the smiles on their face. And then 2 hours later, we're walking through the pits and you see them sitting on the ground playing with their Hot Wheels, or some of the girls have their doll houses set up, and they're all these kids are just playing together, just being kids. But boy, oh boy, when that green flag drops, look out. They mean business.
Oh, yeah. During that journey of the short course karts and getting that off the ground, like what were some of the challenges that you encountered even to start a class?
Well, the tracks are always, we have enough going on. We don't have time. And then they're only kids. And, we went round and round and round. And the year I proposed this, I also proposed what's now turned into be pro spec. We had Mark Oberg took his previous pro light, and Carl Wagner put a LS motor package together that's 400 horse, so the same horse they are now. ATD Charlie put together a transmission, and we went out and tested that truck at Crandon, and they allowed us to start the race in the back, of course, and just to see how it would do. Well, by mandatory caution, he is halfway in the mix with all the pro lights. So then mandatory, he went to the back again, and then by the end of the race, he worked his way back into mid-pack again. So we had a great proven, truck that, back then when Lucas Oil got rid of a lot of their pro lights because they went to the 1 3/4 cages. So we built this thing so it'd be under 3,000 pounds, so it'd be plenty safe. And the track shot that down. They didn't want it. And I went, okay, but we have to do the short course karts. So I was willing to let go of that part of it as long as we had these kids racing. And now, as evolution goes, how many years later, when Champ got involved, and they asked, hey, do you have all this? So I gave them all the paperwork. I gave them everything we had. And then I believe Ryan Beat got involved and let him, Chevrolet would rather have this V6. And with the standard, that's perfect. It's a great combination. The one we had was way more cost effective, like a lot more cost effective, but that's all right. These guys are out there racing. They all have the exact same motor. It's so even of a class. Even at the last race, Eddie RX, the top 4 are right there. I mean, they're all within a car length of each other, and that's the way it should be. That evolved into a great class. Yeah,
it is definitely a fun class to watch, and like you said, there are a lot of even trucks in there.
And it's awesome to see the manual transmission back.
Oh yeah, I love that idea. I was trying to push that back in the torque days when we wanted to start that class, and it was hard. It was difficult because the automatics, it's so simple. You put it in gear and go and just hit the shifter when you want to shift.
Yeah.
So, but I really, these manual transmissions really make a racer out of you.
Yeah. And you guys have produced some good trucks out of the shop recently with Chad Rayford taking the championship in Pro Spec and Dylan Parsons, and those both being trucks that were out of the shop.
Yep, and now Avery's driving Rayford's old truck, and she's killing it out there. Plummer, he's racing a truck that Mikey worked on in spring, and he's doing, I mean, for his first year out there, he's doing fairly well. I love to see these young kids out there racing.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that when you started the short course karts at the age level that was, I mean, now we're looking at 13-year-olds that are in what we would call full-size truck.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when we started, I think Carter's first year racing, he was 7. Well, now they have 6-year-olds out there racing them. And these kids, man, they are flying out there. I mean, when I mean flying, it's a 5-horse Briggs. They're doing 35 miles an hour. But they're wheel-to-wheel rubbing, just like last weekend. The first 2 probably had maybe a 100-foot lead from 3rd and 4th, and they were switching the lead every corner. And, until disaster struck and one of them rolled over in front of the other. But, that's just the way it is.
Lessons were learned there.
Yep. And the next day, they didn't do that. But it's so fun, so much fun to watch. It took me a long time to be able to watch a race and really enjoy it, because I used to sit there and go, damn, I should be out there. Yeah. I know I could beat these guys. 5 years go by, you go, I know I could be in the maybe 3rd. Now, I mean, as much as I hate to admit it, their reaction time with these young guys is so much better than mine. Boy, if I'd be top 5, I'd be lucky.
Yeah. Well, last time you did race, you had hole shot, didn't you?
My last race, I let it flag to flag. Nobody passed me. It's so fun to lead a race at Crandon when the best of the best were racing. I mean, back then, Adrian was in Pro 2. Chad Horde was in Pro 2. Ricky Johnson, Scott Taylor, Jeremy McGrath. There's, everybody was in that race. Anybody was in that race. And to lead them all and know Johnson and Scotty Taylor were behind me and couldn't get by me, that's one of those days where everything lines up, everything was perfect. And when I finished that race, and as I'm walking to the podium, it just hit me. I went, you know what? I'm still out there racing with a broken neck. I'm done. This is going to be my last race. And when I, got up on the podium, and when they got to me and interviewed me, I said, you know what? Everybody here just saw history. That's my last race. And my great friend Creighton, he's like, you can't say that. We're behind you, man. We're going to stick with you next year. If we have to increase it, we will. I went, no, dude, it's, I've been doing it for 40 years or more. And when I raced, we didn't have all the safety equipment they do now. So I've been broken up a bunch, and that second broken neck took forever. And I lost my right arm and shoulder for almost a year where I didn't have the use of it. And now I'm still racing, and I went, you know what? I'm going to go out on top. This is the best feeling ever. And at that time, I know I can't afford to keep up with the rest of the guys. They're outspending me more than 10 to 1. And you just can't. And I just went, you know what? I'm done, but somehow I'm still going to be at every single race. Yeah. So it's pretty cool that I got a job where now I get paid to go to the race.
Yeah, and you still get to interact with everybody. And
yep, still be there. And then, then when we started more and really got going and got the short course carts going, there was no time for me to race. I was plenty busy doing all of that.
Yeah. So, talking about legends, this one transfers into that really nice. Who is a legend of this sport that is highly impactful, but doesn't always get mentioned?
Boy, there's a lot of them. I mean, Greg Gerlach's one. He was the first guy to ever bring a semi tractor trailer to the races.
Oh,
And
big time.
yeah. Okay, Mikey, I'm going to need help. The fella drove the Jeep from Michigan or from Pennsylvania or something.
Bundy.
Yeah, Jerry Bundy. Jerry Bundy, he shows up with a semi and a Jeep with Rancho adjustable shocks. Holy Christ. This is the coolest thing ever. You can adjust your shocks.
Yeah.
Nothing compared to today, but back in those days, that was something.
Because back in that day, it was you just bolted on or removed more.
Yep, back then, whatever shock company you had, you bolted them on. Yeah, whether you had, one of my trucks, we had 5 on each side of the rear and 3 on each corner in the front. And these are just off-the-shelf shocks. You go to your local parts store, buy them, and bolt them on.
How often did you have to either? I'm assuming you don't refresh them. I'm assuming you just replace them.
Yep. And back then, we didn't. We bolted them on and let them. And you might run 1 year, 2 years, 4 years. They're on there. You never bothered with that. You had everything else to worry about to make sure that truck would run and get to the track. Yeah, it's way different than it is now.
That's crazy. Just to think of a day where you could bolt on shocks and go.
Yeah, well, we weren't going the speeds they are now, that's for sure. You couldn't control it very well sometimes, but you did what you knew, and you did what you could with what you had.
Makes sense. So you kind of alluded to it before when you're talking about the race that you led green to checkered. But who's the highest skilled competitor that you race against?
Holy mackerel! There's too many. There's just way too many to even, because I raced against all of them, from Jimmy Crowder to Walker Evans to Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy's the one who probably went on and got the most fame. And back in the day when Herzog's, that Jimmy raced for, they were looking for a driver, and they interviewed 2 drivers, Jimmy and myself. And this was months, and they had multiple questions and pages of questions, and we'd answer all this stuff. And at the end of about 6 months interview process, they go, well, sorry to tell you, but Jimmy had more of the answers what we wanted to hear. And I'm like, okay, well, what is it? Well, when we asked, where do you want to be in 10 years? And he said NASCAR. And you said Pro 4. I go, well, yeah, because that's where I want to be. And they go, well, no, we want to go asphalt racing. I go, well, you could have solved this, 5 months ago and said, hey, do you want to go asphalt racing? I'd say absolutely not. And nothing against asphalt racing, but I tried a couple races in asphalt, and every pit keeps to themselves. It's not a family atmosphere, at least back then. Where off-road, anybody will borrow you anything throughout the weekend so you can get your vehicle running. And when I raced circle track, good luck borrowing a lug nut from somebody. It just didn't happen. So I went, I don't want to go NASCAR. I love to watch it. And I'm super stoked that Jimmy went and made a great career. But yeah, he's probably the one that probably hit it, the biggest that we all know of.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like you said, I think we've shared so many stories on this podcast and or at the races of just all the racers willing to help, or parts, or Like I know when Alec raced, we have like stories where like Johnny Grease borrowed a helmet or things like that. And I agree with you. Like it's when I've been around circle track, it's not the same way.
Right. Yeah. Here, it's so cool. And, you know, when Dylan cartwheeled the first race out, there were multiple teams over helping him put that truck together from his own class. Guys that want to go beat him the next day, but you can't beat him if he's not out there. And that's the way we always race. I want to beat everybody on the track. I don't want to beat them off the track. So we always helped out everybody.
That makes sense.
So our next question was going to be, back in your rookie days, what was the Reach for the Stars goal that you had? But you alluded to already that it was Pro 4.
Well, I always thought you wanted, to race Pro 4. And then I got my chance to drive a couple times when Johnny got in a wreck, and one was at Pomona. Of course, his truck wasn't able to run, but Jenkins had a backup truck, which was an old Scott Douglas truck. So they're like, all right. And back then, I wasn't even racing that weekend. I drove Ross Hook's rig out there because he couldn't. So I'm just there. And Kurt Greaves goes, well, here comes our driver. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, we need somebody to drive to keep John's points going. All right. Sure. I mean, what do I got to do? Scotty Taylor lent me a driving suit. I jumped in that. Boy, I had to be a little bit shorter, squished down in that. I was fine sitting there, but just couldn't stand up. And, somebody else lent me shoes, somebody else, the whole 9 yards. And went out there and, kept Johnny's points going. And that's just what you do for friends at the racetrack.
Some things haven't changed, apparently. Johnny still needs...
Yeah,
Seems like he still needs that situation.
Well, yeah, from when disaster strikes and you try, spread your sternum apart. The good thing now, he's got his nephew that can wheel that truck. And I'm really excited to see him drive it come Lena this weekend. Because from what I'm told, he's got the green light. Go race it like you stole it. Just go out there, and not just to make laps. Go out there and race it.
Yeah, you could see towards this past weekend when KGB was behind the wheel, you could see towards the end of the race, he's getting more comfortable back in it, and like the speed was picking up. So I agree with you. I'm excited for Lena to see.
Yep. That's right now. That's why I want to go watch Pro 4 to see how he does.
Maybe he'll lose a hood this race.
Yeah.
So the Pomona track, that was the one that was dirt on the pavement?
Yeah, they did a couple different ones. Jim was a little eccentric. He gets hold of Pomona and says, hey, I want to dig up your asphalt parking lot and build a racetrack. And I'm sure they looked and went, yeah, this parking lot's, 25 years old, all cracked up. You're going to remove the blacktop and dig down 6 feet and make piles of dirt? Sure, because when he's done, it all has to be back to brand new.
Yeah.
And, quite a few spots. So you're on dirt, and then you come out, and you're on a long straightaway on blacktop, and then a blacktop hairpin corner, which was super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it back then.
Yeah, you just set it in, and then you got some tire smoke and everything along that aspect.
Yep.
Awesome.
I bet tire technology was very different back then than it is today.
It is, but back then you're allowed project tires. So you could run super sticky. So I know we had more traction back then because we were running 13.5-inch wide tires back then. And being project tires, shit, you put your foot to the floor, you better be aiming in the right direction because your steering's not so great anymore.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's wild.
They're dragsters.
Yep.
So there's a story that you've told me, and I thought it'd be an awesome story if you would share it again, about the awning guy. And you're at Anago.
Oh, when the storm was coming? That one or
The one where the
Nice.
radiator's going bad, old guy's trying to get his awning out, and
oh
there we go. I sparked
oh
it now.
yeah no this was Lake Geneva.
Oh, it's like Geneva.
Lake Geneva, and I was still running Class 13. So in the early 90s. And, I mean, my race is coming up, and all the crew guys, my wife, the kids, they all go up to the grandstands, and I'm getting in the race truck. And right across the road from us, and I don't want to say an old guy, older than me, he's trying to set his awning up on his fifth wheel. And it's a brand new fifth wheel, and he's never done it before, and he's struggling. And I climb back out of my truck. I go, hey, do you need a hand? He's like, don't you have a race to get to? I go, yeah. But being cocky, I go, they know who I am. They'll wait for me. And I'm giggling. And I go, here, let me give you a hand. And I mean, I had the same awning, so I knew what to do. I got it out for him. We, set it up, and I said, hey, I better get going. And now I'm driving out there, and I see steam coming out of the front of my truck, because back then my radiator was still up front. And I pull up front, and the guy lining us up, I motion to him. He comes over. I go, hey, what's going on up there? He goes and looks and says, yeah, your water spraying right out the middle of your radiator. I'm like, shit, here we go. I go, well, do me a favor. Crack the radiator cap. Just, take the pressure off. He's like, all right. I mean, races hasn't started or nothing, so we get in line and we take off. And man, good thing this guy did this for me, because I end up winning the race. And that night, the neighbor walks over and says, I can't believe you're on the way to a race and you took the time to stop and help me. I go, well, for one, I think it's just from growing up in the Midwest. That's what you do. You see somebody who needs help, you help them.
Yeah.
And would they have held the race for me? Hell no. And Kevin Dawson back then, he would have threw the green flag himself. He wasn't going to wait for me. But this fella needed help, so I helped him. And, then him and his wife come over and go, hey, do you need a sponsor? Well, of course. We always need a sponsor. And son of a buck, they wrote me a check bigger than I've ever gotten before. And then the next year, they came with us, so we became pretty good friends, and they'd pit by us all the time at the racetracks. And I said, hey, we're going to go out to Glen Helen. They have a race out there. And I think Walker's going to put his truck up for sale, so I'd really like to, take a look at that. And they're like, all right, we'll go with you. And Walker wins the race on Saturday. And we go to his shop Saturday night and talk to him. And Phyllis and Walker took us out to eat. I still remember the place we ate. I still remember what we ate. Things like that stick with you. And I bought his truck.
Wow.
And I bought his truck with these people's help. Because without their help, there's no way I could have bought this truck. And then it was so cool, because then Sunday, he still had to drive it. He still had to race it Sunday, and he won the race. So that year, Walker Evans won driving my truck. So that was
awesome.
pretty
That's
awesome. And they were great people to work with. We brought the truck back to Wisconsin, and I changed it over to a Chevy, and every race we went to that year, I had to go to Walker and give him another handful of cash.
Yeah.
And he loved it. He's like, every time we show up to a race, Dan walks over with cash. He was smiling every time I came over.
That's awesome. So I think it was Wheatland, but you filled in for Ross Hook and got first. Can you kind of walk us through how that went and happened?
Yeah, that was one of those same situations, right place, right time. We brought my semi there. That year I was racing Core Series, and World Series was racing here in the Midwest. But Mikey was racing World Series. So we put his buggy in the semi and go to the racetrack. And on the way, Ross calls and says, "Hey, would you race my truck? I broke my foot." I'm like, "Sure." And never dawned on me, because at that point, Ross was a newcomer to the sport. I mean, yes, he's raced, but I don't know how many podiums he had. I don't believe at that time he's won a race. So I'm just like, "Sure, I'll drive your truck." And I go out there and win the race. And Ross is the most excited person I've ever seen in my life. He's sprinting with crutches. Because the man's got a broken leg. 1 foot and 2 crutches. He comes wheeling up. Forrest Lucas is standing there with me, congratulating me. And here comes Ross up to the podium. And right in front of the podium, there's a manhole. And in the hole, his crutch goes. He takes a face dive right there, and he popped right up like it never happened, and 1 foot hopped the rest of the way. And Forrest was congratulating him, so was I. And Ross like, "I can't believe it. My truck can win."
That's funny. So you probably was not Whole Shot Hook at the time.
Maybe he's got a nickname. That's how it got. He whole shot.
Yeah, Whole Shot. No, he was Whole Shot Hook in Pro 4, because he would beat most people to corner one at Crandon. That truck hooked up and took off.
Yeah. I think that was like the standing Joe for a long time. You could always count on, Hook to get the whole shot.
Yep. And, that's one of Johnny Greaves' old truck. And, of course, Ross always left the automatic in, and you're not going to beat an automatic on the start. It's really hard. Nowadays, I don't know. I don't know of anybody who runs an automatic in Pro 4 anymore.
Yeah, everything's getting pretty high tech now.
Yep.
Now they got paddle shifters and steering wheels that look like they should be in F1 cars.
Yep, and more electronics in a truck than God I ever want to see.
It is crazy.
We're going to get to that in a little bit too.
All right.
But for right now, all right. So your track record shows that you've been able to quickly figure out tires pretty quick. Torque, 2009 Park River, you won the Pro 2 on a set of Maxxis tires, which marked the first win for Maxxis in the first Pro 2 win for Maxxis. And then Kumo days, you captured Kumo's first or second win as well in a pro class?
Yeah, Rodney Van Eperen won in a pro light the race before mine.
Okay.
So he got Kumo's first win, but in a pro light. The very next race, I won in a Pro 2, so I got their first Pro 2 win.
That was a pro light back when it was 4 cylinders and sounded really cool.
Yep.
And then Kenda's for when Mikey was behind the wheel. He had Kenda's first win as well.
Yep.
So
And first championship.
Oh, and first championship.
Yep.
Okay, that's another good fact. How'd you manage the Maxxis tires back in that day? You were running off the shelf compared to project tires, correct?
Yeah, when I first started, we were running the Maxxis Trepador against the project tires.
Yeah.
Because when Maxxis came to me and said, we want you to drive, but we want to develop a tire. Well, of course, you can do all the work you want, but it's not going to happen in 1 year. So we ran their off-the-shelf tire, and I won the championship that year against all the project tires. So that was super cool. And I'm like, "You guys sure you want to develop a project tire?" And they're like, "Yeah." I went, "Good," because the stars had to align for that to happen.
Yeah. So were you actively changing the tire program as you were going through the year, or was it something that you got a tire and you ran that setup for the year?
No, it changed every single race. Creighton and I would, and of course, when I say Creighton and I, when I say I, it's my whole team. Mm-hmm. Everybody had input, and Creighton was the best to work with, and we would figure out what worked for us. But what works for me doesn't work for the other guy. Every truck is different. Every driver is different. But we would change it up all the time.
Awesome. So you were you were essentially changing the course of Maxxis at that point for their whole program.
That, yeah, I guess you could say that now. You didn't know that back then. And then once they got the project tire developed, and then took on more drivers, and then the different compounds, and then inner liners weren't the easiest to come by. So then we developed a great inner liner, and now, as far as I know, there's still only 2 companies building inner liners for off-road.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it
came a long way in a short few years.
So was that just a ton of test days, or was that a lot of times visiting with the engineers, or?
With Maxxis, not. I mean, yeah, we talked to the engineers, but the engineers weren't at the track like we have now. But at least you could talk to them, and Creighton did a lot of the behind the scenes, and Brad Williams was always there, not at the track, but always there to listen to whatever you had to say, and pretty much let the guys do what needed to be done to build a great tire.
Yeah. And then as far as the Kendas go, then that was a DOT tire that you guys were working on?
With Kenda, they don't, and they didn't then, and they don't want to do a project tire. They want to make the best DOT tire that can win races and be sold to the general public. So it's not a special compound. It's not a special tire. It's not a one-off tire. It's a tire you can buy from any retailer, and it's the same tire. And actually, once in a while, we're at the tracks, and we need tires, so we'll get a hold of like a U.S. Auto Force warehouse and have them set aside, and we'll have teams go pick them up.
Yeah, so it's literally the same tire that you're going to get if you ordered it for your truck then.
Yep. And when we first started, when Mikey was racing on them, the guys at the track grooving the tires were the engineers who designed the tires.
Oh, wow.
So when they first started coming, we would give all our input. This is what we want on the side. And I called it a side biter. And this is why when the tire rolls over, now you'll have traction on the side. And of course, then you get the guy who goes, okay, we got to figure that out, but now it has to look cool. Can't just be functional.
Yeah.
In the Kumo days, we did a great side biter. It looked badass, and it worked good. And the Kendas worked just as good, and just being a DOT tire, not a project tire.
Yeah.
So that was a lot to do with it. The engineers who were developing the tires were at the tracks, seeing what had to be done, watching the races, not just watching one class or the other. They're watching all the pro classes and a handful of the sportsman classes, and just to see, what guys need. And it's really proving a lot now that there's even more teams from the last race now calling me, buying tires to race the rest of the season.
Yeah. So you would think the work that you guys put in during Mikey's championship with Kenda and altering those tires are probably definitely feeding now Pro Spec and Pro 2 to the championships that they're getting now.
Yep, absolutely. Pro Light, we had some guys racing with Pro Light tires, and they were on the podium, and it's awesome to see. And now another Pro Light guy called and buying them, and now another Pro 2 guy is buying tires to race. So guys are seeing what's working well, and it's great. And they know they can just call me and talk to me, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, I think of ERX. It was it seemed like Rosales had a flip of a switch, and maybe some of that had everything to play into it. But
yeah, I'm not really sure what all transpired. They just wanted to try something different, and like I say, if somebody wants to buy a tire,
yeah,
I don't care. I don't care who it is. I'll sell them tires. And, and now I got really, I've never met Jacob's dad before, and we hung out with them, and just great people. Yeah, I loved it. I had a great time.
Yep. That kind of transposes to what we were saying earlier about how the off-road compared to the circle track, on how everybody's friendly and everybody wants to help everybody out.
Yep.
So, go to the 80s, 90s now?
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Backing her up.
Backing her up.
So in the 80s or 90s, you shared a truck with your wife, Nancy, where she would compete in the women's class. How did the sharing of the truck arrangements go?
Well, this started early, like really early. BC, I want to say, before kids.
That's a great term there.
Boy, it is one of these times. It's like, all right, just bought a house. You know, you're broke, but Bark River's happening, so we're gonna go and we're gonna watch. So it's one of those years. I didn't have a vehicle there, and a friend of mine says to Nance, "Hey, you want to run my truck in women's heavy metal?" And she says, "Sure, but we're going to split the winnings." Timmy leans over to me and goes, "Who does she think she is? I've never podiumed in my life." I go, "Dude, you don't know. You better sit down and hold on." And back then, Bark River had one of the most exciting land rush starts, because as many people in the class, you were all straight across, not angled back, you were straight across. And only 2 vehicles could fit through those 2 telephone poles. And that's if you're playing nice, you know. And she comes down that hill, and she's the first one through that skinny little telephone pole section, and she goes on to win the race. And he's like, "Son of a buck, can you believe it? She won $1,000. He goes, "I only have $2,500 in the whole car." So they split the winnings. He says, "You have another race. It's in a month. You're coming back." I'm like, "Sweet." We go back. She lines up. She's all fired up. Timmy's already spending the money, you know. He knows he's going to win. She comes down that hill side by side with Gail Brand, and Gail's going to inch her over, and Nance isn't going to lift. And she hits that telephone pole and rips the front corner right off that truck. Oh, my God. Timmy was so excited, and now he's looking down going, "Shit, now what?" I go, "Timmy, I still got the 500. Here you go. Let's go buy parts." He goes, "I don't want your money, but I want your help." So the next weekend, there we are in the salvage yard, because that's where all these parts came from. We took him off a vehicle and fabbed him up and put him on his car, and it probably cost me 4 of the 500 that she took home, but that's all right. And that's when I went, "You know, honey, what do you think?" She goes, "Absolutely. You're building a truck, and it better be good, because I'm going to race it."
Those heavy metal challenges were quite competitive back in the day, from what I understand.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. From, Gail Brand and Paula I'm trying to think, Parsons. There's a couple Parsons back then. Sherry Parsons, yeah.
I believe Brenda Hocker's got to run in a couple times.
Yeah, there was a bunch of them. And the crazy thing back then, the women's heavy metal paid more than the Class 13.
That's crazy.
So she had raced for double the amount. So probably 5-6 years, she was the breadwinner racing. But she also did the majority of the damage too, because when her and Gail or her and Sherry would get to rubbing, not one of them are going to lift. I mean, it would be like whatever today with KGB and Hulcher and Ryan Beat all going into the corner. Well, not one of them are going to lift.
Yeah.
one's going to come out in front, and multiple times mine came out upside down.
So what was, I guess, like in that process, what was some of the biggest challenges then of like the truck setup, things like that?
Trying to race and knowing I'm going to do anything in my power to win legally. And I know I have to have a good running truck so she can go win money so we can afford to go to the next race. That was by far the hardest. Back then, we didn't have spare transmissions. We didn't have spare converters. We didn't have that. So
Maybe they should have switched the schedule so the ladies were first.
no, because she was rougher on it than me. A lot of times when she was one, she's gonna win, or it's coming home in a box. But she won an awful lot, and but of course when you win a lot, you wreck a lot.
Yep.
And one year at Crandon Fall Run, she's coming right down in front of the crowd, right before the barn jump. She comes through corner one, and back then, of course, the tracks were rougher, and they used to have a couple jumps out front. Well, she came off the one a little squirrely, got a help from a competitor, and sent her rolling. And she was 8 times rolling. And 2 weeks later, Mikey was just a baby, and his baby bottle's here, and she's grabbing over here, trying to grab it. I go, honey, 5-6 inches to the left. She goes, no, it's right here. Uh-oh. And I go, this is a couple weeks after your wreck. She goes, yeah, I don't think I should race anymore. I go, well, but you're going to finish the season, right? Well, yeah, I want to win the championship. And then she went, our kids are pretty small. Maybe one of us should be here, so that's when she hung it up.
So you were alluding, or you told about Park River's Land Rush. So those that don't understand it but understand today's track, how do you describe it?
When you're sitting in the stands looking out where they have all the big banners straight across, you go past that a little bit, that was the starting line. And you came straight on towards the crowd. And it wasn't this great big wide manicured corner one. That creek that's hardly there anymore used to have water to the top, and boy, you didn't want to go in there because that's some mucky stuff there. And they had a telephone pole on each side with tires stacked on it, and it's, hey, whoever's got the biggest pair, male or female, you come down that straightaway into that corner one. Hold on, because normally only one's going to make it through, but sometimes 2 of them do side by side. A couple guys thought, well, I'll be smart and I'll jump the creek. Yeah, and they're parked in the creek. So you don't want to do that.
I could just imagine it today with like how fast trucks are and how it would be crazy.
Yeah, every year it kept getting a little bit wider. One of the races where I was in a wreck on that corner, we came through four wide, and the guy on the inside, he failed to turn. So there's a corner, and he didn't turn, and Kevin Probst was next to him. Of course, this guy's running into Kevin. Kevin gets, not even sure, I think, gets shoved into Scott Taylor. I'm on the outside of Scott Taylor. He gets into me. And no fault to the 3 of us. It's just number 1 guy didn't turn. And over I go. I'm rolling. That's when they had to change a rule of no more T-posts holding up banners, because I had a T-post as I was rolling come through my fiberglass roof, spear through the cab. Of course, it missed me. And I kept rolling, and that one I was out for over a month. I couldn't even walk down to the shop for a month. So wow. that was when you wake up the next day in the MRI machine. It wasn't good.
Yeah, that's not good.
I took a nap for a while, But back then, same thing. Kurt Leduc from California. He's one of the first guys over to our semi going, if you guys need a hand, I'll drive your semi back home. You just got to give me a ride back up so I can get my own stuff. And that's the kind of people we race with. Somebody who, he's got to go back to California, and this man is willing to sacrifice a day to help somebody he knows. And back then, I mean, Kurt and I knew each other, but it's not like we were buddies and sat around and drank beer. We just knew of each other. And he came in. He is one of the first guys my crew told me to, offer something like that. So
That's cool.
yeah, really cool stuff.
So with the heavy metal females class, did you see almost no females in the normal competition then, or was it completely almost segregated?
Yeah, back then there weren't because we didn't have two vehicles.
Okay.
If we had two vehicles, my wife would have drove her own, and she would have handed half these guys their ass. But we didn't have two vehicles. And same with the rear engine cars. So it wasn't just the heavy metal, it's the rear engine buggies. They had races, and these gals were in there mixing it up. And they're some of the most exciting races to watch, because these girls, just like today, they're in it to win it.
Yeah. Yep. So, all right, now we're going to fast forward to 2005. So put on your time machine and take a sip.
All right. Just remind me. I want to go way back but we can do this.
Okay. 2005 is when you had another truck built. You, Kurt, and Brad put one together.
Oh, yeah. I called Johnny Greaves and said, I'd like to build a truck. He's like, absolutely. He says, Kurt and Brad will be the main guys, and Johnny's input also. And we spent the off season building a truck.
Do you think that truck changed the trajectory of your careers, or?
No, I don't want to say it changed anything. Maybe I don't know it, but but I met some great people. They were a blast to be around, and got to learn a lot. Brad and Kurt and John, there's some smart individuals there, And back then, I was still the guy punching a clock. I mean, I went and helped at nights and on weekends, but I'm still working every day.
Yeah.
And back then, they weren't. They were building and racing for a living. And I don't think a lot really changed for me until I was paying my crew chief more than I made. And when he wanted to go back to Canada, I'm like, sweet, I'm quitting my job.
Makes sense. So, all right, let's jump in that time machine. Where do you want to go?
Back to my first race. Back then when we're racing, and Muscles owned a bar at Crandon, and when you go down the hill and he's slamming into the back of you because he's so much faster, and I'm like, somebody drove a bulldozer through a woods, man. There's no place for me to go, So I get to the bottom, I pull off, and he goes by. I pull out, get going again. Jack Flannery's plowing into the back of me. I'm like, damn, man, give me a break. You guys got four-wheel drive. I'm in this Plymouth Fury 3.
Yeah.
But I find spot, pull over, and as Jack goes by, he had a step-side truck, and his step-side is stuck on the back of my car. Tore it right off his truck. I had a souvenir. But as we're racing, my car, it bobbles and it conks out, and we get out and open the hood. I'm like, shit, the motor moved back. And anybody knows a 318, the distributor's on the back of the motor, and it hit the firewall, and we take the distributor cap off, and the rotor's broke.
Oh, no.
So I told my co-driver, Chris, I said, handed him a big rock. I said, you smash in this firewall, I'll go find a rotor. So I'm in the parking lot. Every Dodge vehicle, I'm flipping up the hoods, because back then you didn't have to go in the car to open. And I find a pickup, open the hood, and this is after like a dozen vehicles. And I find a 318. And I pull this guy's rotor off, and I run back out there and put it in, and I leave his hood up and the cap off, so hopefully the guy realizes, hey, somebody is here screwing with his truck. And, I can't write a note. I'm racing.
Yeah.
And I ran back, and I get there, and he's got the firewall smashed in about 4 inches. And I put the rotor on. He goes, "You think it's going to run?" I go, "Won't know unless we try." Fired up. And, of course, we finish. The second guy to finish. And I got the checkered flag, and he goes, "Hey, the podium's over there." I go, "Oh, shit, I'm going to the parking lot. I got to return this guy's rotor." So we stopped the car in the parking lot, take it off. I put the guy's rotor back, clipped it on, shut the hood. They're never the wiser. They never knew that they helped me.
That's awesome.
They helped my career to where it is, because I never stole the thing. I borrowed his rotor.
That's awesome.
Borrowed it for a few hours.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So back then it was more like almost like a desert race where it was one line, and in order to make a pass, if somebody was slower, you had to give them the horn or give them some bumps.
Yeah, back then, the spot out front, yes, you could pass, but when they went through the woods, it's like the day before. They had a skidder, a logger, or some piece of equipment go through the woods. And there's no way you could take whatever. I don't want to pick on one brand, but a Ford Ranger or a Chevy Colorado or any of these Nissans or stuff. You couldn't drive that through there. It's impossible. These things were, like I said, back in the day, it was off-road.
Yeah.
They left stumps out there. Shoot, you'd have tranny pans hanging off a stump. It was true off-road.
So it wasn't always about going fast. It's about getting through.
Yeah, back then it was more, well, go as fast as you can, but it's an endurance. You have to be there at the end to win.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
So how does that transpose, or how does that evolve to what we have now? How did just things keep on just getting?
Yeah, they kept getting shorter, and then because back in the day we'd run 12 to 14 weekends a year. All these people cry about, eight weekends is too much. We don't have the budget. We never had a budget. We worked, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and then you'd work on your vehicle. And back then, you didn't buy the parts. You went and found them, or made them.
Yeah.
So it was so much different. And, from Sugar Camp to Rockford, Illinois, to wherever, we just raced, and that's what you did. But as time kept going on, they went from that 4-hour race, and then shortly after, they're 40 minutes. And then probably when the promoter's going, well, shoot, 3/4 of them broke down. Let's make it a half hour.
Yeah.
Well, then went to 20 minutes for the longest time. And now they're 15 minutes or less. But in the 15 minutes now, these guys are moving. They're putting a lot. They're 100, not 100%, 110%. Because if you're not, you don't belong out there.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going with the logic of how short do we have to make it to make majority of the cars last, then I guess Pro 4 needs a shorter race.
Well, most of these guys, if they would just lay back for not till halfway, lay back for 2 laps, but every one of them wants to be out there first. So most of their damage is in the first 2 laps. And with Pro 4, damn, they're so fast and so quick. And when you start pushing, 4,500-pound trucks around, they're so fragile.
Yeah.
So when disaster strikes, it strikes a lot. So,
Yeah. And that momentum just keeps on going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about that with last week at ERX in the Pro Light incident on the first lap. where Funk went flying. It was just like if they would have just, tried to slow up, stay in their line, not push so hard on that first lap, that incident might not, you don't know, but it might never happen. So to your point, like everybody's just trying to get out front so fast.
Yep. And I know nobody likes to listen, but situations like that, there's a couple dangerous hills, and when they're called no touch zones, it's for a reason. Now, hopefully everybody understands, but this guy's truck is destroyed. Never to race again. It's completely junk. So good thing they were able to find a new truck to purchase, but I don't know if they'll be back in time for Alena. Hopefully back to Bark River, but you have to take this, every driver, pro or sportsman, doesn't matter. You have to take this serious. When they don't call them no touch zones for nothing. You really have to pay attention.
Yeah, makes sense.
In your eyes, what areas on, let's pull Bark River, what areas are a no touch zone on that track in your eyes?
Probably just coming up the flyway jump. Yeah. Boy, I don't know. I mean, for sure that one. But yeah, I guess at Bark River, that'd be the only one.
Yeah. That off camber by the audience there, that one might fall on my list.
Yeah. But
It's
I
racing.
guess, yeah, some of that's racing. And that one, you're moving, but it's not the speeds of the other one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The other
Like-
one, it's a lot faster. And at the base of that jump, it's concrete K-rails.
Oh, yeah.
The other one coming by the crowd, there's no concrete over that. And most guys screw up enough and roll by themselves there. So most of them don't need help.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, they run out of talent way before that.
So speaking of some wrecks here, what is your scream in the helmet moment? Your biggest, it could be, a scared moment, angry moment, excited moment. What is your...
Everything happens so fast. I don't know if I ever had one.
I mean, the wreck you were talking about before where the rail went right through the truck had to be pretty intense.
Yeah, but when that happened, I didn't know it. I was probably knocked out by then.
True.
I did have one. It wasn't a scared moment, but it was, what the hell moment. We're at Crandon, and we're practicing. And all of a sudden, I see my buddy, R.J. Flanagan, off to the side. Because in the 90s, in 94, him or I won every single race. So all of a sudden, he's getting towed back. And of course, like any other competitor, you want to know. So you go over and go, what happened? He goes, yeah, I blew a cylinder, but we're going to tow it to the line tomorrow. And when Faye waves the green flag, I'm going to take off, get as far as him, and pull over. I'm like, all right, well, that sucks. My greatest competitor is sidelined. But I told my crew, I said, just so you know, we've been led a line of bullshit before. Don't anybody slack off on anything. This race means just as much as any other race. So we're at the line. Faye throws the green flag. And back then, the start line of Crandon, there's 10-foot elevation change. There's trucks up and down. And I get a really good hole shot. And I look over, and who's in the air alongside of me? R.J. Flanagan. Son of a bitch. Nothing was wrong with his motor. He was just trying to pull a fast one. And I went, no way, buddy. And, of course, I won that race. And he's like, you son of a...
That's awesome. That's
Tried to play a little mental game with you there.
Absolutely. And we weren't having it. So, but that was one of the races where you turn over and go, what the heck?
Yeah, so I think you alluded to the injury before, but can you talk a little bit about the 2009-2010 injury and then what drove you to return so quick from it?
Well, I'm just trying to, that's got to be the California injury. Yep. When I as a racer, you always want to race. And Lucas had a race out west, and my buddy Bruce from Botec was bringing a bunch of bodies out there, and I'm like, well, how about we bring my truck? So it's one of those, I brought my truck. No spare parts, no crew, no nothing. All right, I'm just going to go race and have a blast with all those guys. And the race director then is like, this is awesome having you back. Now I won't have guys crying and whining that the jumps are too big and they're too off camber because, you've raced it all. I'm like, I'm just here to have fun. And they just implemented head and neck restraints then. So I'm getting in the truck, and normally my crew buckles me in. They do the head and neck restraint. They do the Parker pumper. They do all that stuff. I have nobody. So I'm like, hey, buddy, you want to hook this up? And a guy comes over and hooks it all up, and I take off, and we're 4 or 5 laps into it. And shit, those jumps at the Vegas racetrack, they're for real. I mean, you are flying high in the air. And I'm just racing. I'm probably 6th, 7th, 8th, mid-pack. And I come down, and my head twists so bad, I'm like, what in the hell just happened? It's like somebody drove a nail in the side of your neck. This was terrible. But of course, I'm not going to stop. And, you keep racing, and now it's halfway, and I'm feeling around. I go, well, my head and neck restraint, one side is unhooked. Well, when one side unhooks and you bottom out, your head twists like a top. Well, I reclip it, so I'm good. But now the pain is crazy intense. But they just threw the green flag again, so you're not going to stop. So I raced, and I don't know if it was 5th or 6th I ended up, and I pull off the track, and I don't have a pit to go to. I just pull over, and Mike Rushi was at the track that year, and Mike walks by. I go, hey, Mike, I need some help. Well, what do you need? Somebody to get me out of here. Well, just get out. I go, dude, I can't. Well, unbuckle. I can't. And him and Jake Vandervoort shows up. The two of those guys get me out, and I get in Mike's car, and he brings me to the hospital. And they take x-rays. I go, dude, come on, man. This isn't an x-ray thing. Something for real. And they go, yeah, I think you have bursitis. Holy Christ. And so nothing happens. So, and like I said, the pain was crazy, but I go back to the track. By then, Bruce and a bunch of people from the track got the truck loaded up. We hop in his hauler and drive back to Wisconsin. So I go to my doctor, and he goes, I think you have bursitis. I go, what the hell's the matter with you guys? You don't get bursitis halfway through a race. I just explained what happened. He goes, well, you work too hard. It's all you do is race and work. Take a week off. So my wife and I hop in our motorhome and drive to Florida. 3 days into it, I can't stand it. You can't stop crying. And it's terrible. And then my shoulder drops and my right arm no longer operates. I go, clearly something's going on. And my motorhome was a standard. So, of course, drive that back from Florida. And I went, well, we drove by a shoulder and arm specialist. So I walk up to the counter. I said, hey, I need to be seen. Well, we're a referral clinic. I said, cool, I'm referring myself, and I'm going to go over there and sit down. I don't care if it's 10 minutes or 10 hours. But when a doctor's ready, I'll be sitting there. So I walk over and sat down, and this poor girl didn't know what to say. The fastest I've ever been seen by a doctor. Within 5 minutes, a guy walks out and says, can I help you? I explained to him what happened. He goes, I'm going to do a couple tests. Cool. We going back or what? He goes, no, right here in the waiting room. He does a couple tests. He goes, sit down. I'm calling an ambulance. You have a broken neck. I go, I don't need an ambulance, man. I drove back from Vegas. I drove to Florida and back. Where do you want me to go? Neuroscience Center. He says, I'm calling him. they'll be at the door. And I go in there, and of course I do an MRI and go, oh yeah, you got a broken back or broken neck.
Wow, that's
And
crazy.
so almost over a year and a half to get full control of my arm and shoulder. But that's when I started. I went, well, I still want to race. And so, okay, I'm going to race. And as that year went on, you know, when you have 25% of the grip strength, you can't pick up a tire to put it on. So there was multiple things leading up to my retirement. But boy, when I could win back when we had, you know, lots of vehicles, 25 plus, and I can win in front of that group and retire on top, that's a great out for me.
Yeah, definitely.
So how long did that injury actually keep you out of the truck?
You know, probably just the off season, because in spring I went back racing, and good thing back then, my right arm, the only thing I had to do was shift, because I couldn't hold it up in the air.
Yeah.
So just hold onto the shifter and move your elbow back and forth. Because there's at no time I could take it off the shifter and steer because I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So back then, one hand, all you need to wheel a truck.
You needed some extra controls or for shifting and stuff.
Well, if I did, I would have talked to Evan because he had that mastered with his shifting setup and braking. But for him, he had to have two mighty strong arms to do that. So when he's shifting and braking with one arm, and I couldn't handle that truck.
Your son, Junior, got to drive that for a short race, right?
Yep. Evan needed a backup driver, so Junior was it. And after he practiced and qualifying, he woke a lot of people up. And after his first weekend of racing, besides doing really well, I mean, podium with Evan's truck. And if people don't know, you know, Evan's in a wheelchair. There's no feet pedals in the truck, no gas pedal. Everything's done with throttles on your right hand and your brakes with your right hand, and steering's with your left hand, and shifting is a paddle shifter on the left.
Oh, okay. So kind of like a motorcycle in a kind of sense.
And after that weekend, the series deemed it illegal for my son to ever race again because it's not fair that he runs a truck that's equipped for handicap when he's not handicapped.
Oh.
I went, what are you talking? Your feet are in a basket on the floor. You go into a corner, your foot's got to be reaching for a brake, but he can't. It's in a basket.
That's
and
crazy.
when you're trying to take off, your foot's still got to be trying to do this fake gas pedal, but it can't. It's in a basket. I went, that's got to be so much harder. They went, no, he's a AMA quad racer. That's an unfair advantage. I went, oh my goodness. So they wouldn't allow him to race after that.
I mean, I drove
That's crazy.
a pit bike that had the clutch on the right side with the throttle, and it was upside down or something like that. Either way, it was all messed up, and that's got to be more of a challenge than it is to have normal controls.
Well, these electric pit bikes they have now. You get on one of those and twist the throttle, away you go. And what's the first thing you do? You reach for the foot brake. There isn't one. Then you reach up for the clutch. Well, that's the front brake. You touch that, you're eating it now.
Those things fly.
So,
Are you speaking from experience here?
no. Mikey just put a couple together with some crew guys, and they took off and went, oh my God. And I go, what? I ride pedal bike every day. It's the same thing as a pedal bike. Well, these guys don't ride pedal bike every day. They're used to driving around, the pit bikes with a foot brake, and these things don't have it.
Yeah. Speaking of your pedal biking, it seems like every single morning I see you as I pop out of my camper going by pedal biking. How many miles do you usually put on in a race morning?
Race mornings all depends on where we're at. But like this morning, I'll do 8 to 10 miles every day. I can get out there. And, after you have a few heart attacks and a stroke, they tell you to keep exercising. So keep the blood pumping. And so I try and get on my bike and ride every day. And Sometimes it's 2 miles, like at Crandon. Right into town, it's 2 miles. But it's 2 miles on that blacktop road.
And that's a pretty steep hill.
Yeah.
Uphill
Yeah,
both ways.
It is uphill both ways. But I take the trail, so it's a lot of up and down. And so 2 miles there, 2 miles back, maybe a mile in town, so maybe only 5 miles. But with the elevation, yeah, it's like riding eight miles here.
I believe it. You're doing more than I am.
Well, time will come.
I suppose.
Time will come.
I suppose.
So I know you alluded to the injury being out west. So what was your most memorable racing moment on the West Coast?
There's a couple of them. I'm terrible with years, but it's got to be 04 or 05, where I had 2 Pro 2s out there, and I put one right in front of my hauler for sale. And we're in Chula Vista, and this couple walks by, and he goes, "Honey, I should buy that." She goes, "You'd look good in it." Well, I ran so fast, I jumped our little fence we had there and say, "Hey, come on back here. Hop in." "Oh, no, that's right." And I know, get in. He gets in, and I started up, and I thought the fellow was going to wet himself. And she just says, "Honey, you should buy it." So he goes, "Hey, you got some time?" I go, "Sure." We go to a grocery store, and I'm like, "The hell are we doing at a grocery store?" Well, we walk in, and they got a little bank inside. And in Wisconsin, we didn't have those at the time. And he walks up and says, "Hey, I want to use my home equity line of credit." I'm like, "You're going to borrow money to buy this?" He goes, "Well, yeah, why wouldn't I?" I went, No reason. Yeah. Yeah, and so he tells them what he wants to do. They fill the paperwork out. He says, "Well, I'll pick you up tomorrow morning because they don't have that much cash here." And I wanted cash. I didn't want a check. So next morning he picked me up, drove back to that grocery store, and the bank teller goes, "Well, I'll have security walk you out to your car." I go, "What for?" "Well, you have all this cash." I said, "Let me go, 50 feet over." I grabbed a brown grocery bag. I said, "Here, throw it in there. Nobody's going to know if I'm walking out with a gallon of milk or $100,000. And out the door we went, and they're like, "You're crazy."
That's awesome.
Away we went. And so that was really cool. And then to win that race that same day, that added it, because back then, I don't want to say big shots, but the VP of Kumo that I was racing for back then, they showed up at the track and with their families. So same thing, put his son in the truck and started up, and he loved it. And VP goes, "Bet you can't win this race." I said, "Bet you can." He said, "Well, how about you win it? I'll give you an extra 10 grand. Ooh. I'm like, "All right. What happens if I don't?" He goes, "We'll discuss that later when you're buying dinner tonight." I went, "Shit, I can't afford dinner." So we take off, and son of a buck, I won that race. And on the podium, I go, "Hey, remember what you said?" He goes, "Yep, I'll pay you the extra 10 grand.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and the next day he says, "Double or nothing?" I go, "No, but I'll do 10 grand to win and 5 for second. And how about 3 for third?" He goes, "You're on." Well, I was fortunate enough to come in second. So that weekend, besides selling a racetrack, got an extra, 15 grand in my pocket.
Nice.
So,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
that's one of those never to happen again moments.
So in the last 10 years, it kind of seems like the West Coast has struggled to keep off-road strong, like series coming and going. Why do you think that is?
Well, West Coast, everybody knows Forrest Lucas loved off-road racing. And this man, built a great business. He could afford to lose some money racing. And he did. But he loved it. And so what? At the end of the day, if you can afford to do it and you're having a blast, why not? That's a legacy for him. And once he fell ill and couldn't run his company anymore, and the bean counters get in and go, oh my God, we're losing money here. Bam, it's gone. Instead of saying, like Forrest would have, hey, if I'm losing money, let's go make more somewhere else. Let's figure it out. Let's make more money. And yeah, that's in my opinion, that's why the West Coast, and it's nothing against the West Coast. That's why, Lucas pulled out.
That makes sense. I know the desert racing is pretty big still out there. Do you have any Baja adventures that you want to talk about?
I've been there a couple times. One time I was at SEMA with my buddy Milan trying to drum up sponsors. And my buddy Kurt Leduc walks by and says, hey, we need help in Baja. You want to go? Now, this is, the days before cell phones and stuff. So I'm like, sure, I'm in. And we get in a plane, a little 4-seater plane, and we're flying, and we get to Ensenada, and we land at the military base. And when the pilot, parks a plane, and Kurt's like, hey, you guys don't say a word. Let the pilot, or I'll do the talking. I'm like, all right. Well, these guys walk up to you holding M16s, pointing them at you. I'm like, what's going on here? And Kurt's like, no sudden movements. Don't grab your luggage or anything. All right. Fellow walks up to Kurt, and Kurt points to the pilot and says, El Piloto. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Kurt, I could have done that.
El Piloto.
El Piloto. Well, the pilot spoke a little bit of Spanish. So they bring us in. We don't grab our luggage. It's just a duffel bag, but they bring our duffel bags in. Big stainless steel table. They dump out everything on the table, and I go, don't they know? You don't smuggle stuff into Mexico. You smuggle it out.
Right.
Kurt's like, just shut up. And, of course, we had nothing but clothes, so on we go, and we walk out to the highway. I go, now what? Kurt says to the pilot, so who's picking us up? Pilot goes, Kurt, I thought you had that arranged. Really? Now we're standing on the only highway going through, Mexico, and here we sit. Not 20 minutes later, Todd Leduc drives by with a pickup loaded with all the race gear. Kurt gets in and says to us, get on. We are on top of the cab. There's Milan and I and the pilot sitting on top of the cab going through Ensenada. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And then when you see a bus go by and there's people hanging out the windows and on top, I'm like, oh, we look like everybody else.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but yeah, a couple other times I was invited to go help. I think the last time was help when Jason Baldwin won the championship here in the Midwest and won the Baja. So the championship points out there. And most of the stories I can't tell.
How'd you get out of Mexico? The same pilot?
No. That time, Milan and I were at this resort, and we met a lot of people and went, hey, we gotta get back. And one of the guys goes, yeah, I'm going back to San Diego. I'll give you a ride there. Well, cool. At least we get across the border. And then we got another ride to the airport, and we're standing in the line to get a rental car, and this lady's in front of us renting a car to go to Vegas. I'm like, hey, sweet lady, hey, want some passengers? She thought we were some serial killers or something. She couldn't get out of there fast enough. So we just rented the car and drove back. And then, of course, got to get in my hauler and drive back to Wisconsin. So I get back to Wisconsin 2 weeks after I was supposed to. But, we didn't have cell phones. From Mexico, I wasn't calling. So, yeah, my wife was not the happiest that I was gone an extra 2 weeks.
Without no call.
Wow. People nowadays, Chris, they can't go a day without calling and checking in. Yeah. Back then, it was altogether different.
You could have sent
the letter.
A letter
yeah,
at
I was
least.
going to say the letter's in the mail.
Yeah, right. Well, nowadays, the letter won't get there. The mail's so slow.
That's true. That's valid.
So aside from racing, you've been a key role in bringing industry sponsors to off-road. They're even still involved today, as in Amsoil and other tire brands. What are some of the industry brands that you've brought actually to the industry or to our off-road?
Oh boy, I mean, there's so many small ones, but when they last for dozens of years, then it's not small. But some of the bigger ones are, like you said, when my buddy Ray Yeager helped put together the Amsoil deal. That was huge for off-road, and still going strong. I think Jimmy Henderson and Kyle Cheney are big Amsoil sponsored teams nowadays. But when me, Mike Ober, and Steve McCrossan, we were part of the Amsoil Kumo super team back in the day. So there were three of us, and we made a hell of a statement. And then when I went to Amsoil and said, we need a gear lube that will hold up to these 13.5-inch wide tires and these 600 gears that we're putting in, and that's a failure. The gears were destroying, and Al Sr. was all for it. So he sent Kevin Dinwiddie, their engineer, out to Barstow. Me, Mikey, Craig Dorner, I'm not sure who else, if Rayford was there or not. There was 4 or 5 of us, drove my semi out to Barstow, and Kevin's like, yeah, I know this place called Johnson Valley. It's right here somewhere. We can just test. Well, I'm driving down 15, and I know California says the 15. I don't know where the comes from, but we're driving down 15, and I pulled over and went, yeah, there's a lot of land here. Let's test. So we spent a week just off the side of 15, off the frontage road in the desert. We went and made a 10-mile loop.
Okay.
And I'd get in a truck, and Kevin would say, okay, he's the mad scientist, mixes up this gear lube, and okay, go run 10 laps. Son of a bitch, man, that's 100 miles. How about I go run 2, and you come back, and the rear end housing is glowing? Oh my God, we got to change stuff. So he changes whatever. But my poor crew guys, we're taking the rear diff out every time.
Yeah.
And checking everything, the wear patterns. But the first few times were like catastrophic failures. And so put complete new gear sets in. And we'd go back out and go back out time and time. And then every night, he was overnighting all these samples back to Superior, where they would analyze it and test it. And then they'd get back to him by morning and say, okay, this is what you need to add. You need to put so much of this in, so much of that, whatever. We hauled it all out there. We hauled 55-gallon drums of stuff, whatever Amsoil has. I don't even know. And Kevin was the mad scientist, and he was doing what he was instructed to do. And at the end of a week, it's the first time in my life where I went, I don't want to get back in that race truck. Son of a buck, every time you get in, and towards the end, you're doing 10 laps, so you're doing 100 miles. And you get out, and of course, in Barstow, in middle of summer, it's not like it's 80. It's not like it's 90. It's triple digits.
But it's a dry heat.
Oh, yeah, it's a dry heat. Yeah, sure it is. And at night, of course, Kevin would go back to a hotel. Me and the crew, we slept in the hauler right there, right on the desert floor. So we never left. And we just kept on and on until we got this figured out. And that's where their 250 severe gear came from.
Yeah.
And it's the most badass lubricant ever. And I still have what they call the tackifier to put in there that would hold the lubrication on the gears. So right now, in which I have quarts of it at home, if you like stick your fingers inside the neck of it and grab some of it, I could walk the length of this basement and it would just string all the way over.
Jeez.
It's the coolest stuff ever. And that's, 25 years later, I still have this stuff.
Yeah.
Why, I have no idea. I can't throw anything away. But it's pretty cool. Mikey did a little thing and put it on the internet, and it's got over 1 million views.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
Viral.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. But from helping them develop something which I needed. I mean, maybe I was selfish. I needed a gear lube that could last. And there wasn't such a thing. There was one company that was really good, but it costs a lot of money, and I had to pay for their stuff.
Yeah.
If I get Amsoil to make it, they give it to me.
Yeah. And then they can sell it.
Yeah, and they can make a profit afterwards. We help. I mean, those guys and the tire industry is the biggest ones, and multiple different tire companies.
Yeah.
But we helped a lot, in developing these tires to become what they are today.
How did you make those partnerships successful? I know we talked to a lot of drivers and people that say they struggled to, find those partnerships. What did you find that worked for you?
That's probably the hardest question, but it's be yourself. Be who you are, be true to your passion. And, I guess you can't be yourself if you're an ass. So don't be that guy. But just like the story of helping the fellow with his awning. Go out of your way to help somebody. It might not pay dividends like that, but it's certainly going to make you feel better.
That makes sense.
Yeah, just be yourself.
So a story that I always enjoy is going back to the Amsoil is you had a part in getting Amsoil in Fleet Farm shelves, right?
Well, Ray did a lot of work, and back then, you gotta love Ray. Ray was always after me to sell Amsoil.
Yeah.
You need to sell this. You need to sell that. I go, Ray, I got 2 kids. I work 50 hours a week. I got a race truck. I'm trying to do everything. I don't have time to sell this. And he's like, well, I really want to, get my product into Fleet Farm. I go, what do you want to meet? Hank Mills or Stool Mills? You know these people? I'm a mattress maker for 30 years. I've been in their houses. I've been in their cottages. Do I know them like, hey, we're drinking buddies? No. But I can easily go through the Rolodex at work, find their phone number, and call them up. Say, hey, I'm so-and-so from the sleep shop. Will you talk to this guy? But Ray did all the work, and he got into Fleet Farm, and he's one of the few that, got into a nice chain store like that, and he's done very well. But Ray's up there in years right now. But guess what he does at Crandon every year? Guess what he does at most of the racetracks? He's there selling Amsoil because he believes in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy. If you ever have time, stop by and look him up.
They're gonna have to put a little gear lube in his knee or something. Keep him going.
Yeah, we all need that. I need a Zerk fitting and pump some of that gear lube or grease in the joints. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were also a promoter for Oshkosh?
Oshkosh and Anago.
What was the biggest struggles with being a promoter?
Holy man. I mean, there's a lot of them. The first time we were doing Oshkosh, it was going to be sportsmen only because, God forbid, the pros race, more than 6 times a year. But, and they had a venue fall through. So about a week before our race, Kevin Miller from USAC, when USAC was running the series, he calls and says, hey, we really could use another pro event. Do you mind? I'm like, no, this would be perfect, I think this would be what it should be. You know?
Yeah.
Should have been in the first place. And yeah, we made a phenomenal track, a true racetrack, moguls, jumps, great big tabletop. But of course, we get 5 inches of rain, and we think we are swamped. Well, we were that day, but the drainage there was so well. Next morning for the race, it was fine. And the weekend went off. Is some great, unbelievable, great racing. And, being a promoter is a challenge. We always knew you have to be in it for at least 3 years to turn a profit. And after that, by no means it's gravy, because, I know the guys at Anigo and Crandon and Bark River, every year there's hurdles. And not saying they don't bring in $1 or $2, which they should.
Yeah.
But the amount of money most of them give back to the community is so awesome. But when you're dealing with fairgrounds, especially Oshkosh, years and years earlier, we raced at the fairgrounds that was in town. Well, they moved the fairgrounds way out of town, right next to 41. And then what do people do? Build houses next to it. And then cry about the noise. It's like, what the hell's the matter with you? They build the fairgrounds out of town, and you're dumb enough to build next to it. And people that live next to it should embrace this. It brings in not hundreds of dollars, not thousands. It brings in millions of dollars to the community. But these neighbors will cry and whine that, it makes noise or it makes dust. So guess what? That beautiful fairgrounds in Oshkosh, it's not the fairgrounds we know anymore. The racetrack's gone. Now they ride horses. For Christ's sakes, they don't make noise, And so that was a huge struggle. And then when we did Anigo, their fair board, which, I'm not just the fairgrounds board, some guy pulls in and leaves a rut in the grass. Well, shit, now you got to pay to fill that in. So I want to go fill it in. Oh, no, you got to have a union guy fill it in. Otherwise, you're taking his job. Oh, don't give me this. So the struggles were just too hard. And that's why I give Zach so much compliment for sticking with it. And I believe they've relaxed some of their rules that they used to have. But shit, somebody used to do a burnout in the grass and we had to pay by the square inch. Are you kidding me?
Oh, that's crazy.
It's a fairgrounds. Not saying you need to go and destroy anything. By God, no way. But even I'd have like the Boy Scouts clean the grandstands. Well, you can't do that. You're taking a union job away from the guy. I go, well, all right. Here's the deal. Our off-road community will clean the grandstands themselves before they leave. Guy's like, it'll never happen. I go, yeah, it will. I said, you meet me here at 9 o'clock tonight, every night after the race. I'll prove to you our community will pick up themselves. Self-police.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, I'll be there at 9. So I had the Boy Scouts come in at 7 and clean that sucker up. And you make a donation to the Boy Scouts, and that guy'd come in at 9 and go, I can't believe it. This has never happened before. Say I told you. Come on, man. Work with me.
That's awesome.
But, yeah, it just got to be, too hard. And like I say, try to do everything. And trying to do it in Anigo, which is a great place, great facility. But I live in Appleton, That's an hour and a half away every time you're trying to get a sponsor or trying to work with a newspaper or anything. It was just too time consuming. So Zach lives there. Zach's doing a great job. So hope they continue.
You guys were racing at that same time too, right?
Yep, which even makes it harder.
Yes.
I know first time I think I was racing, second time Mikey was racing. And at least I wasn't then. But, yeah, it just adds more challenge to it.
Yeah. I think you guys, Oshkosh, you had your biggest family win also.
Yeah, maybe.
Check our fact checker here.
Yeah, he's not paying attention. Yeah, Evan, that's when Junior drove Evans. And I don't even know if he is second or third, but I remember racing. And my spotter tells me, my boy's behind me. I'm like, there's no way I can let him beat me in a truck. He has 0 practice time. I had to drive. Where the heck? We had to go back up to Crandon. I had my buddy Mike Arndt drive Evans semi to Oshkosh. Junior, of course, he's working, full-time job, and he's raising a new family back then. So he's going to drive this truck, and he gets in, and he's going to go out and practice, and the starter falls off.
Oh, no.
Because it had 0 prep since Crandon. So he didn't get to practice. And I'm racing, and he's behind me. Are you kidding me? Oh, my goodness. And good thing Kevin Probst ended up between me and my son. And but for that one Oshkosh race, I was at my buddy Mike's house getting a set of heads out of his mezzanine for Chad Horde. So that back then it's a 4-cylinder Pro Light days. And I'm trying to read the part number because Chad said there's a certain part number he needed. And I'm reading the part number, walking down these steps. And of course I got my glasses on. And I'm like 4 or 5 steps from the bottom. But with my glasses, I think I'm on the ground. So I just start walking. And head over heels down. And Mike had a bulldozer, of course, right there. So what stops me is a bulldozer. I'm still holding the head in my hand, so I didn't crash this head. Son of a bitch, it's the wrong part number. Really, I almost break my leg, and I went, all right, I'm going in for eye surgery. Because Chad had LASIK done. I went, well, Chad knows where to go. So I go in, they go, you're not a candidate. So they did permaclear. So they take your eye lens out and put plastic ones in.
Oh, jeez.
The next week, I'm going to race Oshkosh. I'm like, holy crap, I can hardly see anything with the lights. And Mikey's directing me, and he's like, hey, don't hit Kevin. Don't hit him. I go, I'm nowhere close to him. Bam. I land right on him. Well, with these new lenses, it took years to get that figured out.
Oh.
And if we raced today, I wouldn't have landed on him. But I did. And that's why Kevin ended up second behind me. Otherwise, he would have won the race. Because, I landed on him.
During your promoting days, did you ever run short? I think the statute of limitations are probably done up on this. So did you ever run short on a water truck or any equipment?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a fun one. My buddy Ron and I were going to tag team and run Anigo in. Ron forgot a few things, and one of them was the water truck. So practice starts. First bunch goes out there, and you can't see your hand in front of your face. And I'm like, where the heck? They used to have a water truck here. So I talked to some locals. They go, yeah, this guy about 5 miles out of town, it's there. So I got my SSR, and I drive out there. I'm in shorts, T-shirts, and flip-flops. And I find this farm. I find the water truck. Nobody's home. Well, we need a water truck. None of the gauges work. Push button start. I get that figured out. There's 3 levers to shift the damn thing. And I'm pretty handy, but 3 levers to shift it? All right, we figured it out, got going. We, meaning me. And there's 3/4 of a steering wheel play. And I'm driving down the highway 64 to get there. And I wheel into the fairgrounds, and people are cheering. I'm like, this is so cool. So I get this water truck there, and one of the guys who used to run it for their circle tracks going, hey, I got it from here. I'm like, perfect. Somebody give me a ride to go get my car. It's sitting at some farmer's yard. He's going to have this thing buried because Again, I didn't steal it. I borrowed the water truck.
Yeah. Might have been a good trade for him, though.
For him, it would have been a great trade.
Yeah.
But by the time we're done, that fellow showed up at the track, and I explained it. He's like, I totally understand. How about I just leave it here? I'm like, perfect. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Super understanding, super nice guy. And, yeah.
So you ended up being home?
Huh?
So he was home the whole time? Or?
Nope, he wasn't home. Later that evening, he showed up, and the water truck was right alongside his driveway, so it's not hard to miss. But where's he going to go look for a water truck? The racetrack.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he came up to me the next day. I'm so-and-so. I'm going, I'm really sorry, but we need it. Yeah, no problem. So just
awesome.
Good people.
Distributor rotor, water truck. Let's see if we can see some more things that you borrowed.
Well, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, in the off-road industry currently, like, how are you involved at the track or in the industry?
Well, still a tire guy. So, we have several contract teams and several teams, a lot of teams that buy tires. And so I run the tire trailer. Keep that going the right way, keeping the guys, which I got great guys, so I really don't have to babysit. But once in a while, you got to tell them, hey, it's time to go to work, and there's time for drinking later. And but we always have fun doing our job, just like in racing. For a bunch of years, it got so serious, and the fun went away, and we sat down, and I said, we have to bring the fun back into it, or why be here? So most of these young guys, what I can tell them is take a breath, look around, especially guys in their 30s and 40s. These are the best days of your life. You don't know that until you're over 60 going, holy crap. Back then, where most of these stories come from, even though we didn't have the money, we were rich. We were the richest people on earth. And the people that we dealt with every day at the racetrack. I have more friends at the racetrack than I do at home, because that's where I lived.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So moving back to talking about race trucks, what do you think the most crucial part of setup is on a truck?
Oh, there's too many. There's too many, but probably suspension is key.
Yeah.
I know you need badass tire. I know you need a motor. I know you need a transmission. But when I raced, suspension was key, because these tracks would beat you up. A lot of tracks today, it's tranny, converter, and motor, because the tracks aren't rough like they used to be. But back when I raced, suspension was really critical.
Yeah. What do you think trucks nowadays are overseen, missing on their setup?
All depends on what team you're talking. It's so crazy now of the lack of calls, the lack of black flags, the rough driving they're allowed to get away with. So the A-arms, the spindles, everything has to be so much stronger, so much beefier than when I raced. Because I don't want to say we're all gentlemen back then, but we raced so much cleaner than they do now. What they call door-to-door racing, shit ain't door-to-door racing. If these guys want to know what it's like to be parked, put me in charge of black flags. I'll give them black flags. And then it won't cost them so much to fix their trucks. They'll find out within a half a year's time, holy shit, we can run the season for half the cost if we don't keep spearing people, keep flipping people over. just different, just a lot different now than it used to be.
So I have to ask then, on a current event, how did you feel about the Cup race this year?
Oh, Crandon's Cup race was the least watched race ever because it was the hottest spring run
It was
ever.
so hot.
It was ridiculous. All our customers that we had there said, hope you don't mind, but we're staying at the lake.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I mean, realistically, if I was smart, I would have been to the lake. But I love racing, and the last race of the day is Cup race, and my wife and I are sitting in the aluminum grandstands, which just radiated the heat.
Yep.
But I'm there to watch racing.
Yeah.
It was one of the most exciting finishes ever in a Cup race ever.
Yeah.
And the outcome spoke for itself. Did Kyle Cheney intentionally try to park on top of Keegan? Well, hell no, he did. But he's in a Pro 4 with his foot to the floor. When those front tires caught his rear bumper, he bunny hopped on top of him before he could hit the brakes.
Yeah.
You know? And CJ, did he plan on running into Keegan? Hell no. He backed it into that corner so soon, and it was so quick, and those two tangled. And the coolest thing about it, at the end of that race, Kyle and Keegan are high-fiving and hugging each other. Any other sport, they would have been duking it out.
Oh, yeah.
And I told my wife, wait till they get to the podium, see what happens with CJ. They're high-fiving and hugging, and CJ and Keegan going on, how they're directing each other. You turn this way, I'll turn that way, trying to get tore apart from each other. These are true competitors.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are a class act.
Yeah.
And did anybody go into that corner going, oh, I'm going to? Absolutely not. Things happen so fast. That's the furthest thing from them. Not one of these guys would deliberately do something like that. They went into it. They all want to win. Don't get me wrong. But I think Keegan said it best. Yeah, what I win, 16 grand. I spent 35 to fix it. You know.
Yeah, the math there, yeah.
Yeah. But what a race. And that last I was told it's over 6 million views.
That's massive.
I don't know what they're viewing, but
Yeah, that's. I mean, the fact that CJ even threw that in that corner the way he did, backing it in, was that was amazing how he threw it in there.
that was so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other guy that could throw it in a corner like that was Joey Flannery. That boy could back it in the corner like none other.
It's crazy. So you served 9 years as the Moore president. And what are some of the things that you accomplished in those 9 years that you're most proud of?
Well, for one, just getting more off the ground and getting the attention, and helping get the sportsman entry fee get 100% paid back to the sportsman. Because when we went in, it's like almost 50% of their entry fee was going to offset the pros' purse. And it's like, the hell with that. For all the years we raced, you got 100% of your entry fee back. And we have to do something. And even though I was a pro guy, I started as a sportsman guy. And you have to be fair. I don't care you just took over the series and you don't have the money. You figure it out. You don't rob from the little guy to pay the big guy. If the big guys can't afford it, hate to say it, but tough, stay home. These small guys for sure can't afford it. So they, that's one of the big ones, to get 100% of the entry fee back. And then when we had a driver seriously injured and couldn't work, I said, we have to do something to start something. And my wife says, injured drivers fund. So we did, at our banquet, we did a fundraiser. We did a basket raffle and silent auction. And we raised a considerable size, chunk of change, which I was able to hand to this fella. And I'm I'm sure it made a difference. And we still, when I left, we still had money in a separate account in case tragedy strikes again. And we helped one other fella in Bark River. He was, I think, what was it, Stump Jumpers? One of the organizations that helped out Bark River. He got pinned between two vehicles, and he couldn't work for a week. So I made a phone call, found out what he made that week, and said, let's donate a week's check to this fella. He's out there trying to help all our guys be safe. And he got injured and can't work. Least we can do is pay for his week's work. And so those are some of the, I guess, key things. And there's lots more. I mean, we used to have test days at Crandon. Each sportsman driver, you throw $50 to go test, and you get to test at Crandon for $50. Are you crazy? That's insanely cheap. And if we didn't get enough drivers, more would cover it. We never had to cover a penny. We had so many drivers. And, then we'd have one of our more members do a brisket and pig roast and kind of stuff. And everybody just came over and enjoyed themselves. And we always did a swap meet. Something as simple as a swap meet. All the more guys would get together, 200-300 of the more member population would show up, whether they're selling their stuff or buying the stuff. Man, we had a absolutely great time doing it. I mean, besides it's a lot of work, we enjoyed doing the work. And we loved it. My wife did the banquets year after year after year. She's dressed tight every year, but she enjoyed the heck out of it. And the banquets were decorated great. People had great time. She always had, which I always thought was, I can't say crazy, different. You have a theme for a banquet. Well, for me, it was a racing banquet. They're all the same. Well, she always had themes behind it. And when Mikey and Kim would show up with matching outfits and pinstripe shoes and all kinds of stuff, yeah, a lot of people really got into it. And we always had a great time doing it.
So what would you say is like the biggest challenge the more president or even board members as part of that face?
Well, it was always, something you, when ERX started, they're a new track, a beautiful facility. So, okay, President, you're up. Call Chris and say, hey, we want some added purse for sportsmen. All right, I'll jump on that. Chris, this is what we'd like. He goes, I know what you'd like, but you guys got to look at it from my perspective. Look at what I'm spending. And Chris isn't like Crandon where he's got, 2,000 volunteers, people helping. Not all of them, but he's got a lot of volunteers, but a lot of them are paid help. And people don't understand what it costs to put on a race. And so when you're in this position of asking for something, when as a promoter, I know what it costs. So what can I do but agree with them, And I'll bring that back to our population and go, just so you know, Crandon's putting in this much. They've been there 50 years. Bark River's putting in this much. They've been there 45 years. ERX wants all of you to show up. And then the racers don't show up because it's too far. Are you kidding me? It's 5 hours away. It's not far. When I raced, we're going to New York. We're going to, California. We're going to Texas. It's not far. Show up, show the support that he needs, then he can contribute. And to today, it still hasn't happened. Sportsmen are probably 35-40% light at ERX. So you bring 40% more of the drivers, he'll be able to add purse to it. So it's no fault of one person. Can't just blame Chris. It's dollars and cents. He doesn't even have to make a profit. the man is willing to do it if he breaks even because he loves the sport.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of some of the talk we heard at ERX too, just of, hopefully can continue to support, continue to be ERX around. So,
Well, I think his hardest hurdle right now is his grandson is on the podium at Crandon and ERX. It's going to be hard to ever quit.
yeah, that's
I don't think Chris has a choice anymore, but I sure hope it continues. Saturday, they had a phenomenal crowd.
Yeah.
I'm like record crowd, and hopefully, I don't know their finances. Hopefully he made a buck or two, which would be great. And if he gets the support of all the racers and all their family, like they do at all the other tracks, I'm sure he'll get there.
And that kind of plays into the next question. What can drivers, fans, and promoters do to help grow like off-road or organization?
Yeah, just continue to support not just the tracks you like. Continue to support each and every track. That's why when we're part of Moore, to get our year-end contingency that Moore paid out, you had to make it to every single race. Because it's not a series without every race. And yes, there's going to be a race that either somebody doesn't like the track or it's too far away or they don't like the promoter. Suck it up. Go to every single one, support every single one, and everybody will prosper.
Awesome. So, an origin question here. How'd you come up with the name Flying Dutchman?
I would like to say that was all me. Absolutely not. One of the greatest announcers of all time at Crandon and other tracks. But I got to back up a little bit. Back in the day, besides racing my own truck, I raced Pete Vanden Heuvel's Class 8 truck. And Pete's Dutch, and I'm Dutch. And Pete and I are walking down the midway at Crandon, and Ron Krieger is up in the tower like he did every single morning at Crandon, saying, "Good morning, Crandon." I mean,
Loud.
boy, oh boy, if they would do something like that again today, people would recognize it.
Yeah.
But guess what? You got to be up at 7 a.m. like he was every day and say good morning to Crandon. And Pete and I are talking strategy and what we're going to do, and because I drove his truck back then, and Ron goes, "Oh, and look at, here come the Flying Dutchman," talking to Pete and I. And I heard that and went, 7-7 racing is no longer, it's going to be Flying Dutchman. So we changed.
So, how'd you come up with the race number then? That race number 77 has been handed down to 3 generations now?
Well, from starting in 1977,
Oh, there you go. That's
so we started in 77, had nothing to do with drinking Seagram 77, We've been blamed for that. But, started in 1977.
yeah.
And so we were 7-7 racing for a bunch of years till Ron Krieger said that, and that nickname, that trucker handle stuck.
Yeah.
And people were calling us Flying Dutchman. And then, Pete retired, and so I'm Flying Dutchman. And then Mikey started, and guess what? Now he is.
Yep.
And my grandson Carter's racing, and now he is. So, yep, the whole family's Flying Dutchman.
Awesome.
Yeah, so throughout your years and even current years, what are some key markers for successful race team?
Successful racing?
Race team.
Race. Oh, my God. I don't know, pretty hard. There were a lot of successful, but all depends on how you see success. Because if you're there having fun, doing the best you can, and you're a 5th place guy, you're successful. All depends on how you look at it. I don't know how to answer that one.
Oh, that's fair. That makes sense. I think that's a huge part of it.
Oh, yeah.
If you were to have a new youth person that you were guiding, to become, say, a Pro 4 driver, what would the route be that you would advise them to take throughout the classes that we currently have in the series?
Well, I wish money was no object, because Connor, Colin, and Taylor are badass drivers.
Yeah.
They get it, they understand it, hardworking. We open our shop to them. Mikey guides them here and there. I know Connor for sure has become a hell of a welder from practicing and learning in our shop. I mean, right now I'd love to see those boys in, I don't care, Pro Spec, Pro Light, Pro 2, and go see the talent these young guys have.
Yeah.
It's pretty badass.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely a topic of, their name gets brought up every single time we do a race recap.
Yeah,
it's hard to do a race recap without bringing them up.
It's funny, Connor drove Mikey's single buggy last year and won a bunch of races.
Yeah.
Turned a lot of heads. Mikey lists that car for sale for not reasonable, really reasonable. And it sits there. I'm like, are you kidding me? This thing can go school them all. But, which I'm pretty happy, because now I'd like to put another driver in it and watch him go win.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love to see, somebody take, whether it's one of our vehicles or a vehicle that we had a hand in helping build or building in their shop, and them go win. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Who's a big part of talking about helping other people win and helping other people in their racing career? In your racing career, who are some notable names that deserve a good mention?
I mean, I have so many, but one of the early ones in the 90s, when I'm winning a race at Crandon, in the last lap, I break a axle. And as I said before, I get mine fresh out of the junkyard. But I came in second, and a competitor, Farmer John Conitzer, says, when are you going to buy some axles? I go, dude, I don't have money for that. He's like, how much would you have won today? And back then, we knew what we were going to win ahead of time. Not like today, you have no clue.
Yeah.
So I told him, he goes, well, you win 2 races, you could pay for them. I go, yeah, but I can't pay for it right now. So how do I buy it? He says, you borrow the money. I go, John, I'm never going to borrow money racing. He goes, then you're never going to win. I go home and I'm like, fuck, this guy makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's a farmer, and these guys are smart individuals. So I took his advice. I borrowed money from my brother and borrowed money from my father-in-law to buy these axles. And the next 2 races, I won the races and was able to pay these guys back. But then, of course, I borrow more money to race and more. If he ever knew I owed over $100,000 for racing, yeah, he would have beat me. But he was one of them. Jimmy Crowder, man, he was a guy that taught me a lot, not just racing, more of life skills. Because Jimmy, in my eyes, Jimmy was well off. He showed up at the racetrack with a Bluebird bus and a semi. Are you kidding me? When my son Junior was 10, his wife wanted to bring him back to Florida to spend 2 weeks. I'm like, fucking perfect. Take him away,
Take him off my hands.
And my wife and I are talking, going, okay, we know these people at the racetrack 3-4 days at a time for years. We don't know them. We don't know where they live. So I said, honey, well, we've been married over 10 years. Let's take our honeymoon. we'll go to Florida and go see where he's going to be.
Yeah.
So we did. And, just by talking to him, and I asked him, how do you get to where you're at in life? He's like, real estate, man. I'll let you in on a secret. They don't make any more. Buy whatever you can, whenever you can. Doesn't matter if it's vacant land, doesn't matter if it's an apartment, doesn't matter if it's a duplex, a house. Buy it. He says, even if you think you overpaid, just keep it longer. It'll be worth it. And probably the smartest thing somebody's ever told me, because I've owned, over a dozen properties. Yeah. Oh, a couple dozen properties. And that's, I guess, been my success. And it wouldn't have happened if this fella wouldn't have led me in the right direction.
Gave you the nudge.
Yep. Because my dad died when I was 13, so I didn't have, somebody to ask.
Yeah.
And, Dick Gilson and Pete Van Dyke helped me build one of my very first Class 13s with Chris Werzer and Rick Bricko in the shop helping me every day. When Nancy rolled it once, she wrecked the whole cage, so we had to put a new one in. And Dick Gilson came again with his electrical conduit bender to make the roll cage. And then I had a lot of questions on suspension. And one of my fierce competitors, Shaboom's truck, so Lowell DeGrief drove it, and Gary was the crew chief. Gary was kind enough to come to my shop, and we had a corkboard on the wall and strings and little thumbtacks, and he showed me how to do a suspension on a corkboard.
Yep.
And this is what you want everything to move free. And before that, we were just taking leaf springs out of a junkyard, bolting them on, and go. And I went, all right. So I got this idea of watching Jack Heitman's truck with quarter elliptics. So we built and designed our own with Gary's help. And we built one of the fastest Class 13s in a day, not because it's the fastest motor, because of the best suspension.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for guys like that helping you, you'd never be where you are. So these guys, they help more than they'd ever know.
Yeah.
Just by being there.
Yeah, I spoke to Gary, and he said one of the biggest key markers of back in the day was that everybody helped everybody. They wanted to see trucks go faster, wanted to get the trucks onto the field to have the race there, not race in the pits.
Yep, absolutely. And Gary was, and not just Gary, but Gary was great for that. And, to come over, and Charlie Schleve was one of them back in the day. He was a guy that understood gears and was able to set them up. I had no clue. I couldn't afford to pay some mechanic shop to do it. So he'd come down from Antigua or Crandon, wherever he was living at the time, and he'd show up and set these gears up. And son of a buck, But back then, you set a gear set up, it's in the truck all year.
Yeah.
Not like nowadays where every weekend you're swapping them out.
Or every race, almost.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's so much different back then.
Yeah.
So between your own success, your wife's success, your son and grandson's success, which one are you most proud of?
All of them. I guess you can't. I mean, I know you never sit there and pat yourself on the back, but World Championships at Crandon were pretty awesome. So I got 5 rings. In '94, I won all 4 races I entered at Crandon. That's pretty awesome. My wife won a championship in the heavy metal days. Junior didn't win a championship. He wasn't in it long enough. But I know in Chula Vista, he was running down. It was Jeff Kincaid back then in the 4-cylinder days. And he didn't pass him for long. It might have been a truck length or two, and then his shifter broke. So that was a memorable moment. And then Mikey in the buggies was pretty awesome, but in the Pro 2, especially at ERX, watching him race that, wow, there's no better feeling in the world than watching that. And, and then watching my grandson Carter win World Championship ring at Crandon and the championship from short course kart and World Championship in mod kart. It's pretty awesome. So
that is pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Since you brought up Circle 2, you have 5 World Championship rings. Which one was the most memorable?
Probably the 2 in 94, winning Class 13 and Heavy Metal Championship. So to win 2 World Championship rings in 1 year, it's pretty awesome.
That is cool.
So as we kind of get near the end here, we always, since we started out with the engine warm-up and then we went to the green flag and a comp caution, kind of a breakup of sections, now we go to the restart and we do a little word association. So it's a little
harder for me.
It's a fast pace. It's easy. You just say the first thing that comes to mind. So if I said front engine buggy, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Class 13, because you could see the engines.
Yeah. How about mud race?
Oh my God, Anigo. Always muddy at Anigo and Luxembourg. I shouldn't even say this. Well, Walker Evans was in Class 8 then, and so was Farmer John. And Farmer, being a farmer in a pouring down rain, he cuts his brake line and pounds a nail in the end of the brake line so you'd have 0 front brakes. And Walker goes, 100 miles an hour and flies past the corner. And Farmer hits the brakes and only rear brakes, and it turns, and he goes the other way. And here comes Walker next corner, passes Farmer and flies past the corner. This happens all race. And Farmer beats Walker Evans. Can you believe it? Farmer's out there in a $10,000 truck and Walker's in a $200,000 truck. What in the hell? And Farmer goes, I went to Fleet Farm and bought some tractor tires and I dislocated my front brakes. And
he turned it into a tractor.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm listening to that and I'm like, all right, I get it. But I'm the next race. I don't have time to cut my brake line and pound a nail in the end.
Yeah.
So I go into the corner. Well, before you get to the corner, I hit the brakes, put my gear shifter in reverse, step on the gas, and that truck turns 180 immediately.
Wow.
And then you hit the brakes again as you're sliding backwards, put it in drive, not low, don't spin the tires, just put it in drive and take off. And then do that every single corner all race. And at the end of the race, you lapped 75% of the field. And when I get done, Hipster from ATD comes up and he says, I'm pretty sure, and I can't say what he said, I'm pretty sure I see what the F you're doing. Don't ever effing do that again to my transmission. And I'm like, dude, I won the race. I don't give a flying F. And I'm like, all right, whatever. It's your transmission. Next race, of course, it rained again. And I did the exact same thing.
And you won again?
Oh, absolutely, I won.
Yeah.
By leaps and bounds. Because when it rains and it's nasty, the smartest guy wins.
Yeah.
Not the guy with the most horsepower, not the guy with the best suspension, not the guy with whatever, somebody funding their program. It's the guy who goes the slowest, and when you think you're going slow, slow down. But throwing it in reverse was the best. And now, when I get to the next race, Charlie McCormick's going to chew me out.
So is that the ultimate Mudman Dan secret right there?
That's it. But don't drive wide open and throw it in reverse. Your tranny is going to be on the ground. You had to do it with finesse.
Okay.
You got to be on the brakes before you switch gears, and keep sliding before you accelerate. It was so simple, so fun, and I hated mud races because I hated cleaning the truck.
Yeah.
But I loved them because I won them. And from Anago to Crandon to Ionia, Michigan, wherever, if it's a mud race, I'm going to win it.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Another word association, just two more here. Double secret probation.
Ooh, I was on it twice. Yep. One of them, yeah. I won't get into one of them. One of them was driving Pete Van Dyke's Class 8 truck, and the front wheel came off. So I kept racing. And I come by, back then all the scores, they hand scored, so they're sitting on like a hay wagon alongside the track, and I came by them at speed. And they're all losing their mind. And at the end, I get called in to like the principal's office, you're in front of the president and all them, and, oh, you put everyone's life at risk? I go, no, wait a minute. You guys drive buggies. Oh, yeah. When you rip a front tire off, you keep going. Well, of course we do. So I'm in a truck. What's the difference? Oh, they go so fast. We're afraid for our lives. I said, then don't park the hay wagon so close to the track. I was fine. Absolute fine. No, so they DQ'd me and put me on double secret probation.
That's funny.
Oh,
Yeah.
that feels like there's been a repeat in history recently on that, but
Well, no, that guy didn't lose a wheel. He lost the whole spindle.
yeah.
And went in the pits and came back out in front of the leaders. See, I would never be that inconsiderate.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the problem was more of what happened after the wheel was lost.
Yep, for sure.
Yep.
And you're not going to gain points at that point. You're last.
Yeah.
We were still racing.
Yeah. Last word association, RJ.
It's got to be R.J. Flanagan because he's my buddy, my most fierce competitor ever, and one of my best friends ever. When you race against somebody and you want to do everything possible to beat them, and now that we're both retired, he has a birthday party, we go to his place. Mikey has a shop party, he comes to our place. At the racetrack, 2-3 nights, we're always having a beer together.
Yeah.
It's lifelong friends that you meet at the track. And it stemmed from being a fierce competitor, wanting to beat him at whatever we could do to beat him. And even though he'd try to play a mind game once in a while, but he was, he had the sickness so bad of racing. On his way to Bark River one year, he pulls his race hauler with his Suburban. 454 motor. His race truck was a 454.
Oh, no, I see where this is going.
Yep. And he blows the head gasket on the way. So you open the trailer up, take the head gasket off the race truck, put it on your Suburban to get to the track. Doesn't have another one, so he takes it off the Suburban to race the weekend.
Oh, jeez.
Now the weekend's over, put it back on the Suburban to get home. I'm like, are you absolutely crazy? That's when you turn around and go home. He goes, absolutely not. I had to beat you. So we never knew working all night wasn't normal.
Yeah.
I mean, his team, our team, Shaboom's team, we all did whatever had to be done.
Yeah.
And had a blast doing it. But nobody ever, all the old guys, Walker Evans, Jimmy Crowder, all these guys, they never said, breathe a little, take it in, maybe stay Monday after the race and see the rest of the sights of that town.
Yeah.
because we'd show up at the racetrack late and leave early. Take it in, because these are the best days of your life.
Yeah.
So that's something for everybody to remember.
Yeah. Unwind at times and
Yep.
just sit back and have a beer with those buddies.
Yeah, sit back and take it in, because, you never know. And now, I mean, I've been in it so long. I won golf cart. Everybody has a memorial sticker after they pass away, and that golf cart's getting full.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you never know when your time's up, so take it in now.
Yeah. Absolutely. You have a good Creighton King story?
Hundreds of them. One of them, we're in between events, and at this time I'm still punching a clock, working, and he's camping out, say in my driveway, waiting between events. And I come home, he goes, "Hey, I really screwed up." "Yeah, why is that?" "Well, I'm in my motorhome, doing work, sending it back to Brad at Maxis, and I could smell like electrical wire burning." So he checks his RV and nothing. And his motorhome and my motorhome are parked 2 feet apart. So he walks in my motorhome, and the fuse box is on fire. So Creighton shoves his hand through the wall, grabs a fuse box, rips it out, and throws it outside. I'm like, "Damn it, Creighton, you screwed up." "What do you mean? I put the fire out." I go, "Yeah, just think, I could have a new motorhome, and so could you." He goes, "Oh, what's the matter with me?"
That's funny.
The following year, his slide-out switch started on fire. And he stopped for a second and went, I should walk away. Dan and I can have brand new motorhomes. Nope, he shoved his fist through the wall of his and ripped that switch out and threw it out. So even though he thought about it, he could never do something like that, neither could I. So he's one of the best.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, looking at the
You're up.
I'm on deck. Looking at the past series and the current series, what are some of the characteristics that you miss, and what are some current characteristics that you enjoy?
Well, I enjoy Champ a lot right now because they're still here.
Yes.
So many. 2 years gone, 2 years gone, 2 years gone.
Yeah, we're on 5 years now.
5 years. So I give these guys way more credit than I thought would have happened. So my bad. But, and back in the Torque days, what I don't miss is Torque was take out raincoat. It rained all the time.
Is that what that stood for?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Three different generations of Torque, and it never changed. It rained 50% of the time. It's like, come on. What these guys need are great weather.
Yeah.
And they would have prospered. I don't care which one of them. But when you're struggling in the weather for 50% of the time, it's super hard.
Well, we have a bet going for this current season that if it rains one time during the race weekend, I bet that it was going to be more than 6, and you bet it was going to be less than 6. Well, we're at 3 race weekends that have gotten rain now. ERX is the only one that didn't get rain.
Oh, well, hold on for Lena.
No rain.
It's going to rain for sure because Lena is on the same weekend as EAA, and it has rained every single year forever.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be a washout. It's going to be a passing, as they say now, it's a storm. For God's sakes, it's not a storm. It's a thunder shower. We'll be all right. It's just rain.
And that track seems to deviate the water so nicely.
When the guys at Lena and the guys at Hulcher put their heads together and built that track, unbelievable. The drainage there is as good as it was in Oshkosh at the fairgrounds. These guys, like I say, mainly farmers, they are smart individuals. They know how to deviate water, get it out of there fast. So even though your pit, you might be sunk to the axles, the racetrack's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Always is.
That's what matters. The racetrack.
The racetrack is 100% what matters. I've been towed out of Crandon and Bark River and, from parking in the pits. I've been towed out of multiple tracks. And, but the tracks that know what they're doing when they're built will have great drainage.
Yeah.
So they do really well.
What's one thing that you think we need in off-road short course racing right now to continue the growth?
Aside from weather.
Yes, aside from
I
weather.
was going to say weather is a big one, and we have to figure out a way, and it's crazy, to not have so many races in a day. There's so many races. I can't watch them all anymore. I just can't be in the grandstand that long. And I think we need to start racing classes Friday nights with the tracks that have lights. Race Friday night under the lights. And I don't care if you run all the kids Friday night. I don't care. Well, as long as you don't go past 8, they got to be in bed.
Yep.
I don't care if you run sportsmen at night under the lights. I probably prefer to run pros under the lights.
Yeah, it's always a nice show.
We all saw it at Crandon when they ran their night show. They prepped the track and watered in the evening. And when that sun went down, they never had to put a water truck out there again.
Yeah.
So from Super Buggy, when they went out, of course, it was a little greasy because they just watered. Pro Spec had a phenomenal track all the way to Pro 4. So if more and more tracks would figure out how you can get lighting and do them a night show like that,
Yeah.
and I get it. It's going to be an extra day. Spread it out for 3 days rather than 2, because to jam all that in 2 days is too hard.
Yeah, we feel that even is just trying to get up there to watch the races. You just got to pick and choose what you want to see, because there's things we're doing between the races too. So it's hard to get up there for everyone.
Yeah. And, sooner or later you got to eat, and it's just hard. And I enjoy watching races. And even though I'm not a side-by-side guy, but I have so many friends and friends' kids racing side by side, I want to see how they do. So I enjoy watching CJ and Owen out there racing. I love to watch them because I know who they are. And if I know somebody in the class, it's so much easier to take in that class.
Yeah.
That 570, I'm always like, oh, come on, what are these 570s? Hey, get in one and drive it. It's so cool. Now I want to watch it every time.
Yeah.
But until I drove one, I barely fit in it, but it was a blast. And once you know how fun that is, absolutely, I'll watch it.
Yeah. We always talk about like how cool it would be to have a adult mod kart class.
Oh my God. These kids are so lucky. I wish. I said at the last race when we walked away from mod kart, I go, why the hell didn't we have these when we were kids? Well, for one, I couldn't afford it. But yeah, boy, to have that and to be able to grow up with that knowledge of racing, and that's why old guys can't compete anymore, because these guys are starting when they're 6 years old. I didn't start till I was, don't tell Crandon, 16, because I know I had to have a parental signature. So I go, yeah, my mom's in the car, and I went and signed it. She wasn't even there, but it's just different.
Yeah. And just that, like you said, starting so young in that knowledge and how different tracks develop and all that as you get older, like that's huge knowledge base, and you're like the situations you can end up in and you know how to recover from them.
Yeah, these young guys, they understand the cushion, and they understand chasing. Why it's a perfect one, because he races a lot. He understands the cushion every lap is going to keep going farther up and up and up the track. And these young kids understand that. The older guys getting in, they need the data. They need these fancy dashes that can tell them what's going on. A real driver doesn't need any of that. You don't need a gauge in the truck. In my opinion, the heck with all that. Go out there with nothing and just race. But nowadays you got to spend 40, 50 grand on
it's
that
crazy.
nonsense.
You look in a truck nowadays and you're like,
Yeah.
how do you even pay attention to what you're driving with all the stuff going on?
Yeah, it's a space shuttle. They have so much stuff. I mean, when I raced, I wanted a temperature gauge on my transmission and an oil pressure gauge. So I knew what to fix at the end of the day. Did I need a tack? No, I know how to shift and I know when to shift. And for the new guys coming in, if you don't know that, I guess then you need that fancy stuff to tell you, shift light to come on. But yeah, we never needed any of that.
Makes sense.
When do you believe the apex of the off-road sport was, or is it still about to happen?
It's gonna happen. It has to happen. We grew a lot, multiple different times, but there's no reason in the world we don't have 40,000 people watching every single race, everywhere. And the stars got to align, things got to happen, and I believe it's going to happen yet.
Okay. So
In my lifetime, it's going to happen.
in your lifetime.
In my lifetime.
So you're thinking almost NASCAR level then.
Oh, hell. Absolutely. There's no reason in the world it shouldn't. You got to put some key people in key places, and you got to be willing to listen. How do I say this again? You got to be willing to listen to people that have been in the sport as long as I have or longer. There's people out there giving information, and it's falling on deaf ears.
Yeah.
So if you want it to grow to what it can be and should be, just got to listen, and it'll happen. I truly believe it'll happen.
Hopefully we even covered some of that in this podcast.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, so the last section, or the kind of towards the end, so we call it the podium. I guess, what are your plans for the next 10 years in the off-road space?
Wow. Well, I always thought I'd retire, but I'm having so much fun doing what I'm doing. I don't know why I would. And I don't ever want to say I get paid too much, but damn it, I get paid to go to the races. It's
a good spot to be in.
That's pretty awesome right there. And it's really hard to say, but hopefully we can continue to bring young guys in. And now that Mikey's running the shop, he's got a bunch of young guys that come in and learn, and he's brought multiple, I don't know how many. I mean, I brought a bunch, and he's brought dozens through, like Lincoln Electric's motorsports welding program to learn how to weld and why you're welding and why you're doing this to make it the safest thing. There's so many people that can weld great, but they don't understand it. They're not using the proper filler. They're not putting the right gussets. Truck after truck rolls over and the chassis sprung or twisted. It shouldn't be. It's just not built. I don't want to say correctly, because some of them build them super light on purpose, but then you stack weight on.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. Build a safe vehicle, and in my opinion, get the best containment seat you can ever get if you want to continue racing. Because I believe I could still be racing, or would be racing, if I had a full containment seat back in the day, because then I won't have broken necks.
Makes sense.
When you break your neck twice and 13 ribs and a collarbone, and
that's a few bones.
Yeah, it's from bouncing around and not being contained and not having a window screen, and
Yeah.
taking a rock to the collarbone. Yeah, all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff.
So, who do you think we should interview next? Or who should put on our list?
Wow. Depends what you want to talk about. I mean, my crew guys are crazy, so I don't know if you want, Cowboy or Craig or Gary or these guys talking to you, but yeah, I don't know. All depends on what you're after, because old guys, and now I'm not sure, but I think Johnny hit 60 now. If not, he's really close. So he'd always be a good one. There's just so many. Adrian, man, he's a blast.
Yeah.
And he's been in it forever, and he's in it because he loves it, and he sees where the sport can be, and he does it, and actually has a second truck running now because he knows, Pro 4 needs
More trucks.
needs trucks, and I think he'd be a hoot.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a
He's
really
got
hoot.
he's got a business mind and a passion mind.
Yep, and he's crazy intelligent. I think he's a little crazy first, but he's super intelligent. Yeah.
So, out of your whole racing career, what is the most memorable moment?
Oh my God. I don't even know how to answer all that. There's just so many, but probably watching my wife win. That's
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's way cool, knowing that you didn't just build a truck. You built a truck strong enough, competitive enough for you to race twice, and now she gets in it as the leftover truck. What you get is what you get, and she's able to win with it.
That's cool.
And that's really cool to watch her jump out and the excitement. And yeah, that's so cool. That and Mikey's championship was badass, especially doing it the way he did it. You pull a race truck in an enclosed trailer to the track. Now you got to push the race truck out because that's where you're sleeping at night.
Yeah.
As Gerald Foster would say, racing like gypsies. You need to sleep, so you got to empty out whatever's in the trailer to sleep, and that's the way Gerald did it for years too.
That's cool.
Yeah, way cool.
Throughout the years of racing, what is it that you hope that your competitors remember you for?
Being a true sportsman and would help them, whether it's borrowing them part or help them work on their truck, or shoot, a couple of them come to mind when Tommy Bradley's racing with us back in the day, and he bends a rear axle housing. So he's going to put the truck in the trailer. I go, what are you doing? Well, my housing's bent. I said, so what? Let's borrow a welder. I can fix it. How do you fix a housing? Well, you lay a great big bead on the back side of the housing and watch it cool, and it'll straighten. He's like, there's no way. I go, borrow a welder. And I throw this huge weave on the back of the housing, and as it's cooling, it's just straightening and straightening. And you do that a couple times, and you're able to slide the drive axles in. He's like, I was going to drive all the way back to Las Vegas and buy new housing. I go, no, man, we know how to fix shit. And he's able to race. And the son of a bitch beat me the next day. But you know
awesome.
what? I'm happy for that.
Yeah.
Because I was happy to help a competitor out. And beat me or not, I want to beat him on the track, not off the track.
Yeah.
So, there's hundreds of stories like that,
Yeah.
And
that's how our sport should be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is today. Like when you said Funk rolled over, Holcher's and Millhouse team offered him a truck to race the next day.
Yeah.
And they're still offering. It's open-ended for this weekend at Lena.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he'll be there or not,
Yeah.
But you got to give those teams a lot of credit to
Yeah.
offer up a truck to a competitor to race. That's pretty awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah. And somebody that's been, very competitive. It's,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you have anything else, David?
Nope, I have nothing else on my list.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Well,
do I have anything on my list? I got to check, Mike. Yeah, I think we're good.
Think you're all good? You covered a lot of stories here.
Well, a bunch. There's so many, just so many team guys from whatever, Mikey's career and mine and Nance's and Carter's teammate with Garvin's racing. Yeah, there's just, we could be here, not all night. We could be here for days.
Yeah. Well, linking off of that, it's been a great honor to have your story told here. And, I've been spending a lot of time throughout the years hearing your stories, and is actually quite a big part of the inspiration to why we made this podcast, was to capture the stories and put it onto film and get it in the history books. And we're absolutely floored to have you join us, and it was a great time. And we look forward to, you're going to be in the Off-Road Hall of Fame now.
Yep, that's
2025.
2025, one of the newest inductees to the Off-Road Hall of Fame, which is unbelievable. The people that are in there, it's a lifetime achievement honor.
Yeah.
The guys I know in there, it's the stuff they've done for off-road is crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm just super proud to be part of that.
It's well deserved. You've done a lot for the industry, and it's very well deserved.
Well, and as much as I've tried, again, I don't do it by myself. Without my wife there helping, my kids, my crew my crew lasted, 40 years. I got 40 years of crews.
Yeah.
And so many of them are still involved in racing. Beef and Aaron are still at the track all the time. And they started out, changing tires and helping me on the race crew. And now they're still there all the time. And yeah, it's so many of them are still involved. And it's just super cool to, just keep short course rolling.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us. Congratulations again.
Cool. Yeah, I can't wait till, I don't want to wish my summer away, but I can't wait till November 2nd.
Yeah, I can't either. Hotel's already booked.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, we're going to have a good time. And it should be a lot of fun.
Yes,
Awesome.
definitely.
Thank you again.
Cool. Thanks.
Yep.